horror fan to HHN 365, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. As always, my name is Mike, and I'm here with my co-hosts Duff, Jess, and Jonathan. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great.
We have a long episode tonight.
I
see it coming.
Are we just going to get straight to it?
Yeah.
On today's show, we'll be discussing some HHN news and rumors, and then we'll be dissecting the Weeknd After Hours Nightmare from HHN 31, unless something comes up in the next 15 minutes and we have to push it. That's an inside joke.
I have a say.
We've been trying to record this episode for, I would say, like a month, and something always ends up coming up. So
9 p.m. announcement.
God, no.
As always, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at HHN365, and we have a TikTok that is HHN365pod. Join our Discord. The link is in description, and we have a merch shop that has a bunch of brand new merch at HHN365.com. You can leave us a voicemail at 407-906-4134. Before we get to the main show, we have a lot of news and rumors to get to as well.
Yeah, we absolutely do. First, let's start with our personal news, and I don't think any of them are rumors, but we can call it that. So a few things we already discussed. HHN 36 Live for the month of May will be held on Wednesday, the 24th, and our Discord event, that is still undecided exactly what we're going to do. Maybe a game of some sort, we'll see. Will be on Sunday, the 28th.
We'll be watching Grease 2.
Yes.
No. We'll get exact times and activities to you soon, but there's your dates for those events. And there's an event that we haven't actually announced yet. Well, Jess did elsewhere apparently, but
oops, I was excited.
I mean, we're not hiding it from anyone. We just wanted to wait till it's closer to say it. We will be at Spooky Empire. So the horror convention that comes to that it's Orlando based annually, actually twice a year now. We will be there from, what are the dates? The May 19th through 21st. Yeah, so it's going to be a Friday through a Sunday. We'll be there all 3 days. We will have a table. We will have merch. We're going to do a live podcast recording where you can come up and interact with us and be on the show. We're going to do TikTok lives and all kinds of fun shit, and we're really looking forward to it. We've never done a con. We've never had a table at a con. This is the first one. We're diving in and see how this goes.
Yeah.
We're excited.
More details about that live show, exactly when we're doing that, to follow our social media to find out.
Yep, definitely. But we hope to see everyone. Well, probably not everyone. Some of you there.
I hope to see every one of you motherfuckers.
If I don't see, I'm going to count how many people listen to this fucking episode. And if we don't meet that many of you.
Jesus.
I'm just kidding. You're joking.
I know, but now I don't even want to go.
We better not listen to this episode then.
Ooh.
Oh my
But yeah,
God.
come meet us. I love talking to you guys. Come meet us.
I don't know if people want to meet us now. It got so dark. But
Maybe they do. Maybe they're into that.
oh my God. Okay.
Are we that scary?
I don't.
Well, Jonathan's scared, clearly.
But Jonathan's a
terrified.
child.
So, should we just hop right into the news and rumors?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, okay. And I actually want to jump right here because as we were just talking about Spooky Empire, HHN is actually going to have a Spooky Empire we're going to have a panel at Spooky Empire as well. It's called Woman Behind the Horror, a Universal Orlando Halloween Horror Nights panel. It's going to take place May 19th from 6 to 7 p.m. And the description was, join these fabulous women and more for behind-the-scenes Universal Orlando Halloween Horror Nights panel. They'll be chatting about the women that impact Halloween Horror Nights, from creative to production to technical, as well as what they love about their jobs and how it feels to be a woman in the horror genre.
Oh my God. This makes me so excited. We don't get this all the time, and HHN was started by a woman, so
Yeah.
the fact that this is a woman-centered panel from HHN, holy shit. I cannot go, so I'm excited to watch the video back and see what they talk about.
Yeah. I don't know which one of us is going to see this or which two of us will see this because someone will have to stay at the table.
Lucky bastards.
But I know that we're all ecstatic for this. And especially right now, there's so many women who don't just make a huge impact on the event, but are leading their respective departments, and basically the head of HHN now is Laura Sauls. So
Yeah.
like, there's this. They could have so many different people there. I'm excited to see who they bring from what aspects of the event, because there's a lot to choose from.
Absolutely. And another benefit, besides all this awesome stuff that they're going to be talking about the panel and everything like that, is that this is May 19th. So that's like next weekend. And usually at these panels, or at least you guys went to the last one, they talked about they talked about two announcements, kind of. They talked about Legends Collide, and they talked about Halloween, right? The recent Halloween announcement.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe in addition to all this awesome stuff, they'll also be discussing maybe a potential announcement that might happen close to that date, possibly.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I'm conflicted because there is the sense that they might want to keep it focused on what the panel is about.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's something they can tie into that, it would make a lot of sense to have an announcement ready to go.
Yeah.
I have a theory
Also,
on
it's
that.
also just that time of year. It's compared to last year. It's kind of that time of year.
Yeah. I have a theory on what it could be if we were still going to say women's centric. Last year, there was one of the casting, like heads of casting, and then I believe the head of makeup were the two females that were on the panel. Who's to say that we don't get the monsters announcement and then the head of makeup then goes into maybe character design
Yeah, that's true.
or sketches or something, because they're already casting people. So we've had to have some kind of, production into that. And we got behind the scenes to monsters last year, like looks at the facade and stuff like that without knowing it was that. But
I think you're onto something. Can you imagine a Last of Us announcement and then they talk about the makeup designs and things? I
yeah.
think
So-
you're onto something there.
I actually
with the
pulled up
makeup.
some of the people that are going to be there. There's going to be more than this list. There's like, it isn't just this list that is going to be there. But basically, we're going to have the director of art and design, the show director of creative development, art manager, character designer, and makeup designer. They're all guaranteed to be there. I'm pretty sure more awesome people are going to be there as well.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like on its own, kind of exactly what you'd be expecting and going to be for a great panel.
Absolutely. And now we can go into another Horror Nights panel that's happening, not here, not in Orlando, but in California for HHN Hollywood. And that we talked about this before, but now we have a specific date. And in that, John Murdy will be having a panel at Midsummer Scream on Sunday, July 30th. So that's the day he will be presenting for Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood. And I'm sure usually those days there's an announcement for Hollywood. So yeah, that should be a good day.
Very tempted. Make a trip.
Yeah,
As
especially.
if I'm not going enough this year.
Yeah, so actually today we had quite a bit of HHN news. That's a little different than normal. But now let's just move right on to news and rumors, aka construction. We only have one piece of construction updates from our good friend Kevin, who goes to Hollywood and is able to take pictures for us about what's going on over there because we don't live there. And basically, only news for Hollywood construction is that the Mummy tent is now under construction. Actually, you could see the outline of the house on the floor of the tent. So it's it's already really starting. There's stuff in front of it. So we're going to see construction, like really heavy construction on it very, very soon. It's just starting the process. And the house at the Parisian Courtyard has more detailing on it that's making it look more and more like what we were speculating. I think the character we were speculating was La Lechuza, the legend of the woman who turns into an owl, and it's sort of looking sort of like that architecture. It's not looking like anything like any of the IPs or rumored originals. It's looking more around that style of La Lechuza and stuff like that. So those are the construction updates. Do you guys have any comments?
Nothing different than last week.
Yeah,
No.
I figured it's a little light for Hollywood construction. Actually, we do have one more piece of construction news, but we'll get to that right now because we're gonna go into the John Murdy section, in which John Murdy on Twitter. If you can't tell, I am speeding through these because I want to get to my segment. But where John Murdy, the creative director of HHN Hollywood, says things on Twitter, and we talk about it. And the first thing is that in reference to the Curious George tent, one of the Curious George tents for HHN Hollywood, there is a little booth next to it, and we were sort of speculating on an episode before what exactly that may be. Some were saying ticket booths, some were saying toll booths. There was a lot of different ideas of what exactly this could be. And he let people know that it is not a ticket booth. So that clears up some things for sure.
Toll booth. Security
Right?
booth. Didn't say no to those.
He did not. He did not say no to those. So those are still possibilities. Not a ticket booth, though. That one is not anymore. And this last thing is less news and rumors and more fun. Actually, I guess it's related to rumors. On the past episode, John Murdy said that there will be icons at this year's Halloween Horror Nights for Hollywood. And we were sort of discussing, what does he mean by icons? Like what does he consider an icon? So somebody asked him, hey, John Murdy, what were the icons last year for HHN Hollywood? And he basically went, Hollywood Harry, which, yeah, makes sense. And Maxie DeVille. It's like, wait a minute. That one was the head character of Horror Hotel, but I don't think many people would consider him an icon, and someone even responded to that and said, those were icons? That's or like at least Maxie DeVille, like that's a little weird. And he basically said that he considers an icon being an original character that's the main focus of an experiment of an experience, and that he doesn't think that we'll see an icon being the head of marketing, such as like the director was in the past for Hollywood. That's all he said. I'm assuming that it was inferring in the future. Like he doesn't expect us to see a head icon marketing Hollywood anytime soon.
So basically, in his opinion, an icon is if you have an original house, the main character is an icon.
Pretty much.
No.
Well, at least we have clarity of what he means by a Hollywood icon.
So
Orlando
he doesn't have
would have,
icons.
like-
Got it.
Yeah, Orlando
Makes
would have
sense.
like 5 icons a year.
Really?
Oh, 100%.
Like you could say, I don't think Hollywood Harry. I wouldn't consider Hollywood Harry an icon last year. Like that's not what have made him an icon. I think he has been used more like an icon in the past,
Yes.
where there's been more revolving around him for the event as a whole.
Mhm.
So he was kind of already an icon,
Mhm.
Maxie DeVille, though, like he was literally just the main character of a.
I didn't
a
even
house.
know
That's
his
it.
name until right now. I liked his house.
But it
Yeah,
has
How
to
did
be
you
an
not
original
know? He's
character.
an icon.
So La Llorona is not an icon.
Well,
to John
according
Murdy.
to John.
La Llorona is technically an original.
Yeah.
Right,
Just like
Which is
Chupacabra
not an
is an
IP.
original.
Yeah.
right. So we're just kind of pulling hairs here.
So is scare like what just like Scarecrow number 5
Right.
was the icon for Scarecrow
No,
last
no, no,
year?
no, no, no. It's obviously Crow with the top hat. That
Oh,
was
I
the
forgot.
icon.
He was in a zone.
Oh, he was also in the house.
Was he?
He was
Yeah,
like
he
the
was-
finale.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I forget because monsters traumatized me so much in Hollywood. I'm sorry.
There were 2 crows in the top hat last year, which is
I'm right, Jonathan.
which is I was gonna make a Doofenshmirtz joke, but it's failed now.
I'm sorry.
You
Yeah,
ruined
you're
it, Jess.
Ah.
ruined it. I can't
You're-
believe it.
I ruin everything. You know what? Maybe I just shouldn't be a part of the weekend episode,
No.
guys. Bye. I'm really
so-
sorry.
You're not going anywhere.
God damn it.
Back on track. Very clearly different attitude towards what an icon is than I think anyone else probably.
Yeah, I would say that. That's a fair assumption.
I think he probably decided that as he was writing that.
Right? He's like,
Like, what-
I am
Maxie
John
DeVille.
Murdy. What I say go.
well, I can't say I've never made an icon, so let's see.
Just lie.
Okay. So we have our Legacy segment now, which Legacy is a known insider in the HHN community that most people trust. And this is a big one. Someone said on Discord that said, "Hey, I feel like I don't see people talking about the Yeti option anymore." And basically, they're referring to the rumor that was spread on Facebook and different platforms, and I feel like other people started adapting it, that we would get some sort of Yeti based house this year. I think some people were guessing Swamp Yeti from Slaughter Cinema and stuff like that. But the main consensus was Yeti. And Legacy replied, "Doesn't mean it's not happening." So
That
mean,
means he's
that
saying
reads-
it's happening. Yes.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. So we were I forgot how many originals we were confident on the last spec map.
4.
We were confident on
Yeah.
4, right?
We were
So-
confident on 4, so this would be the 5th to be 5 and 5.
Demon
Yep.
Slayer question mark?
Yeah, this would be either Demon Slayer or Secret IP if you're keeping track.
I think Secret is.
How can I change Demon Slayer to mean Yeti?
Yeah.
No. Got nothing. No Dawn FM's up my sleeve this time.
equals lightning bolt. Which means that.
Slayer
Yeti's just a
is
code name
slays
for-
are in the snow.
Ugh.
So
Oh. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Demon dogs
No.
and dogs pull slays. So this is clearly
No,
a Yeti.
demon dog, devil dog, slaughter cinema Yeti.
There we go.
6 degrees of
Mhm.
separation.
There it is.
It works. That's what
We
it meant
got
the
there.
whole time.
Bing.
So
You did it, guys.
So how do we feel about that? How do we feel about a potential, I guess we still don't know what context Yeti is in this scenario, but potential Yeti house. Remembering that we just had one.
Pretty. Wait and see. I won't have too much excitement until I see something, like I do for some of the other rumored originals.
I'm shocked by it. I have to say, is it going to be a sequel? Are we going to pull a John Murdy and just bring back a popular house from 2019
No.
and pretty much its same glory, which has really never happened in Orlando? That would set a pretty interesting precedence. I'm not to say that this is not possible. We're going to gatekeep this, right? But like, it's interesting. It's just something we've never really seen. We've never seen a sequel so quickly as well. So I'm trying to wrap my head around what exactly this is going to look like. It's not something we've seen before. If this rumor is true,
Didn't we have I don't know if it was a rumor, but wasn't there discussion that this was going to be like kind of an experimental year? And they were going to try new things.
I think that was before we started to get a lot of actual rumors. That was kind of one of the things being said.
Yeah, could this be one of them where Orlando is trying out bringing back a house?
I would put so much money down that they aren't just bringing back a house.
Oh, I know.
So
but I'm
much
just
money.
saying, that could be it. It could also just be. I mean, we've talked about I think last week we talked about something that was also weird, but I can't remember right now. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't get why. I'm honestly, let's wait and see what. I need to see what setting these Yetis are, if they're actually called Yetis or if it's something similar to a Yeti. There's a lot that I need to see in order to form a complete opinion. I will say though, if it's a similar setting and similar vibe as Terror of the Yukon in 29, I like that house. It was fun. It was a fun house for sure. It wasn't one that I remember that much. It was just, I think it was like a middle of the road house for me. So seeing it come back would just be weird. Or seeing something similar in that style come back would be a very weird choice, especially when, I mean, at that point, just bring something else from Slaughter Cinema, because Yeti Terror of the Yukon, while it wasn't Slaughter Cinema, it was like a spin-off kind of Swamp Yeti, which was Slaughter Cinema. So I don't know. I don't get why they just bring back Yeti again before doing something else Slaughter.
I would definitely hope that it's more just maybe a sequel, we can say, but it is taking place somewhere new, a new location, Yetis have somehow got somewhere else kind of deal.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean there are other places Yetis could be,
That is true.
but
Instead of Canada.
But like if you were to go to like the Himalayas versus the
yes,
Yukon, is there enough of a difference from what you see visually that
I
would
think
really
so.
stand
Yeah,
out and make it different enough?
Significantly less plaid.
I would assume, yeah, that's
yes,
true.
I
Would they
think
focus more on the cultural aspect of the region,
Like
maybe at that
yes.
point?
temples. Very
That would
like
be
Animal
cooler, I would
Kingdom.
say. Yeah, that's the only thing that makes me think that they would not do it, is that it's very similar to Expedition Everest. That
Good point.
they, it's but not to say that they can't, but I just don't necessarily see them trying that.
That would be cool, though. Actually, I would not hate that at all.
Yeah, I would
Their
love to. I
first Disney
mean,
house.
no, they're just good when they focus on one thing. Going back to last week, um, but I don't I don't know, because then we've also talked about like, oh, it could be Swamp Yeti, like a Full House. Why would they do that? Sounds too close to me setting wise as the rumored Devil and Down to
Yeah,
Georgia house.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And it's not a
So
year to do Swamp Yeti when we're already getting, the
yeah,
Georgia house.
if you're gonna do one, like I don't want to say that's a climate house. That's probably gonna be more like a scenic house, Devil and Down to Georgia. But like, why do two hot climates when you can do a winter one that is always popular, like, or something else?
Hmm.
Just don't do it. We had one last
Yeah,
year, so
Yeah, true.
or maybe it's Yukon again, but there's like some sort of thing that makes it different, like some other setting. Like it's not lumberjacks. It's I don't know. Some
It's Yeti meets Project Evolution. They're half human, half
oh
Yeti.
god. I was gonna say nuked Vegas, but it's nuked Yukon.
Oh my god.
Just
A,
toxic,
a
a
3D
toxic
Yeti
Yeti.
house, baby.
Hey, my first 3D house with Yetis.
the Yetis have made it down to Montreal, and they
Oh,
just
God. They're
Nah,
just in a different province.
just fucking up Quebec City.
Oh God.
Fuck these walls around your city. It's
Oh,
2023. Why you got walls?
it's actually a hockey house.
It's just a
I
hockey
mean,
house.
that
That's
would
It's
it.
be
just for us. Oh,
I've been wanting a sports house for a long time. So.
we've been begging for years.
The Yetis play hockey.
All right, can we, the Yetis, we need to move on from this.
We do. Unless we can drag this out for 20 more minutes.
Jonathan,
Just-
please,
I could
please
talk
Okay.
about Yetis playing hockey, Mike.
Here we go.
yell over him, Jonathan.
I got
That's our
some,
next shirt. I can see it.
I got some spice. I got some hot news.
It's more like if you
Spice?
ordered like a mild option at a restaurant.
Yeah, I mean to me, mild is.
Is it white
yeah,
people spicy?
Yeah.
It's white people spicy. This
Exactly.
mayo's got some kick to it.
Ooh, aioli.
If you
There's
remember,
oregano in here.
if you remember a long time ago, many episodes ago, there was a whole thing, and Legacy basically said, "Hey, this Demon Slayer here, that's a code name. That It rumor, that's a code name. A lot of things are code names by Universal, to that are like how Universal used to code name houses based on like, they used to give each house a code name. The rumor was each house this year had an IP code name instead. So for the example he gave is, let's say a house was It and the code name was Terrifier, something like that, like an IP code name. So it basically came out, and Legacy said it, a lot of people said it, that the code names were not code names at all. In fact, they were just fake rumors made up by people, that a lot of people, insiders, whatever, confused to be code names because I don't think they knew where exactly these rumors were coming from, and they might have thought Universal had a secret plan of like IP code names and stuff, but really it was just people messing with them, giving them fake info.
Right. That they were so outlandish that they had to be code names because people knew that they weren't real, but they were being touted as real. And so they were trying to figure out why.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why this year has been crazy spec season wise, and why it's so hard to trust anybody anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like I I get it. Some people are like, "Oh, this is fun, right? We're making the insiders go crazy. Isn't that fun?" Like, I don't think it's fun. Like, like it's just it makes the spec season really annoying. It
I
just
think I think it's fun because there's a lot of discussion that gets very serious, even a little intense, and I don't know. It's kind of funny that it's caused that
that
because
is true.
I mean I have no interest in arguing about speculation. Right? We come on our show, we say our thoughts, and for all those properties like it and shit, I think we immediately went, "Oh, fun to talk about." It's not coming. It's
Hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely not happening. There's no way.
yeah, that's my
Uh,
Demon Slayer
Yeah.
stance. Like, there's just no
Exactly.
way.
That's exactly that's one of them. But I don't know. It's kind of entertaining. I don't want to say from the outside because we're not exactly the outside, but we aren't on Twitter and Discord or anything like arguing about this shit like some people are.
Hmm.
And it's kind of funny to watch it happen. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, it's always fun watching the fight. You don't want to be part of it, but
Yeah, I mean that. I guess that's the difference, right? Like watching it from the outside is like ooh, having your popcorn or whatever. But like, I don't know. Things came to like I don't want to get into it, but things came to a head recently where all this came
Hmm.
out, and it was just like, oh my god, like it was crazy. I didn't like it. I mean, I
everyone's
liked it, but I
fighting.
didn't like it at the same time.
It seems a little bit of like chaos, like on purpose this year. That there were people who were like wanted to come in and just kind of cause chaos and for the lulls. Like, at
Yeah,
least from my outside perspective,
Oh yeah.
and
that there's
I don't know what it is about this year. Also, it seems people just are more willing to believe anyone who says anything. Like Jonathan, I believe there was someone found on another Discord server that like literally shared his DMs, like, and he
Mm-hmm.
straight up talked about making up rumors to get people
Yeah,
to bite. Like,
absolutely.
but people listened to him still. They thought he was like a
yes.
legit insider, even though he has no track record, never did anything, random account. But you say something interesting, and for some reason this year people are just like biting on everything. I think that's the difference. Because shit like this is getting traction, more people are going to try it, and those people are going to do it more and more and more. So I think that's why we're getting a lot of this just kind of fake shit, right? At the end of the
Yeah,
day, that's what half of it is. It's just it wasn't like there are situations where yes, it was a rumor, but it was miscommunication,
hmm,
misunderstanding. That happens. It's going to happen every year. But there
Yeah.
are like some of these. There's straight up people lying.
Yeah.
no. The
Yeah.
minute people like started believing Godzilla, I was like, oh my god. And I honestly think the main problem is Discord, not our Discord. I need to specify that. We make sure that when people come in and say Godzilla's coming, we're like, no, like I think that happened actually. We're like,
Go
no,
sit in the corner.
really, go
Think
sit
about
in the
what you've
corner.
said.
Time out.
But like just the multiple Discord servers, like in the HHN community, there's so many people. A lot of people that are younger. Discord tends to aim, like towards a younger audience that are more easily susceptible to just believe what anyone says. So like I really think like that the Discord is the reason that things like this, Discord in general, not our Discord. Need to clarify that. Is the reason things like this are happening. Our Discord is great. You should join it, Horror Fam. It's a great Discord. But
Yeah. Yeah, from
yeah.
my perspective, it used to be like most of the rumors came out of one channel in years
Mhm.
past, and that was the Inside Universal forums.
Right.
And
Hmm.
now it seems like everyone has kind of fractured off to their own respective Discord slash Clubhouse, and in those they're unmoderated, or at
Mhm.
least a lot of them are unmoderated, and a lot of things just kind of festers and grows
And
into
you
that,
just get an echo chamber,
just getting
basically.
echo chamber, and then it gets out of that Discord, it
Hmm.
gets into another person's echo chamber, and where that started is not really backtraced necessarily, where it was kind of BS there, but it comes out and it's no longer treated as BS in that echo
Mhm.
chamber.
And
uh,
I think we have like actual, we don't have to go over them, but like actual examples of this happening where people just, because of a group that they discuss with a lot, and that group believes one random thing and it was some fully made up thing, but because they hear it so much and they sound so confident now that they're like, no, 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 this is real. I
Mm-hmm.
swear. And it's like, no, no,
Demon
found
Slayer.
out it was just a
Demon Slayer.
fat lie, a big,
Demon
fat,
Slayer.
Yeah.
fake rumor.
I guess what we're saying is, and this also kind of goes with all the Twitter discourse that was going on, is, anyone can be an insider, anyone can have information. So take everything with a grain of salt and, believe who you want to believe. But most people have to have a proven track record for people to be confident in what
Yep.
they're saying. So
Definitely.
no one's denying people and what they're saying. But if you haven't proven yourself, I trust no bitch at this point. So
Yeah, there's a reason we only stick to a couple people, like when we talk about news and rumors and
Mhm.
stuff on our we stick to the people that have had the track record, that have the reliability over the years, that we can safely say, hey, what they say is probably in the rumor mill somewhere, even though a lot of that this year was a bunch of made up stuff, unfortunately, but that just seems like that's how this year went. But that's why we only stick to the people that we do. We know that there's tons of people who say a bunch of stuff, but we tend to stick to the reliable ones.
I
And
miss
I think
when it wasn't an
the-
issue and there was literally just like a couple insiders and no one else said anything.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think the big difference is not only is do they have they could be wrong, but they've also proven that they are willing to filter out some of the stuff that is outlandish and not just put it out there for clout. I think that is the why we stick to certain people, because they hear these same rumors, but they're able to filter out whether it's true or not, and they're not going to feed that echo chamber stuff out just to
Mhm.
gain interest into their whatever respective thing they're doing. I think that's I would say the main thing that we're going to try to focus on moving forward is proven track record, and are they just putting stuff out there to just to get let's get the things talking, even though if we have there's certain insiders that do that and certain insiders that don't, and I think that's where our focus is going to lie, right?
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
think that's pretty spot on. And I mean, again, we don't want to just bring. If we brought up every person who said anything, we'd be talking about so much bullshit, so much. We just don't want to waste our time on that, especially on the show. So
Godzilla, right? No, okay, but let's get to the last piece of news here, and this one is not HHN related at all, but in fact, it's another event we talk about a lot: Hollow Scream Orlando and Hollow Scream Tampa, and that is that both of these events are having a mayhem sale. Get it? Because we're in the month of May, and basically, this sale is that you can get 2 tickets for only $36.99 each. So that's the specific sale. You got to buy 2 tickets, and then they'll be $36.99 each. It only lasts for a little bit. I didn't write it here, but it's not that far into May. So I would recommend, if you are interested in going to these events and you're only planning to go for maybe 1 day or 2 days, depending. This is a very good deal, especially for Tampa, because I think Tampa has a little bit higher prices than Orlando, if I remember correctly.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, this is a great deal for Tampa, and it's still a really good deal for Orlando as well.
Yeah, you should definitely hop all over it if you have any interest in going. I mean, it's going to be basically half off tickets, especially at Tampa. So
yeah, and with that, oh my god, yeah, all of the news and rumors are done.
wow, would you look at that?
Oh no, my internet's going out.
No.
My internet's
Oh
going
no!
Wait.
Goodbye.
Can't go out yet because we're going to do voicemails first,
Oh, okay. And then a dabble of Abel.
and then
Dabble.
then
Yeah,
more than a
big
dabble.
dab.
Oh
A
yeah,
dollar.
more than a
It's
dabble.
definitely a
big
dollar.
fat
Do a
dab
dollop
of Abel.
Abel. Oh, I gotta go. All right. We got quite a few voicemails. Y'all killed
let's
it.
do it.
So let's see.
Hey, what's on HHN 360? My name is Ruin Antic, and I'm just calling because I have a few questions about your thoughts on current rumors and speculation. specifically for Orlando. So what do you think of the current reveal, I guess, that the whole IP codename stuff is baloney? Do you think that any of the currently rumored IPs could be false? Do you think maybe there's going to be a change in current speculation? And what are your thoughts on current speculation about the top secret IP? Do you think it's Stranger Things or The Conjuring? Those are like the two main IPs I've heard thrown around. Oh, and I guess one final. Do you think Demon Slayer's coming? Yeah. I'm a fan of the show. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Oh, I
Oh,
guess we should.
that was pretty appropriate. Thanks for your voicemail. Appreciate it. As you would have heard by now, we discussed basically all of that,
All of that.
in good detail. So I guess I think I can speak for all of us when I say we all feel somewhat comfortable with Stranger Things coming to the event.
Yeah.
Whether that's technically the top secret IP or Demon Slayer or whatever, I don't know how they're listing it. And that we also believe that Demon Slayer is a no, and that we'll have a 5-5 split. So Demon Slayer, Conjuring, no. Stranger Things, yes for all of us. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I want Conjuring
Exorcist,
so bad.
yes.
Yeah.
Phantom / Paris, yes.
Yeah.
Last of Us, yes.
Yep. And then as for your other question, again, we did dive into it a bit. But the whole code name thing, I don't know that I personally have an opinion one way or the other. At the end of the day, I don't care if it was made up to cover something or if it was real. It doesn't bother me either way, to be completely honest. So I don't know. I'm not too concerned about it in general.
Yeah.
Oh, and Conjuring now. He asked about Conjuring.
Yeah, no, that's a no.
Warner Brothers. All right.
Hey, do you know what I want to come true? There's this rumor that I heard that Blumhouse will be at the event, but as a scare zone.
Okay.
I heard that Blumhouse will have a scare zone this year, kind of like Crypt TV did back in Halloween Horror Night 2021, I think. Was it 21? But yeah, that's what I hope comes true.
I have not heard that rumor about a scare zone.
I haven't, but I would not hate it.
Yeah, that would be
I think that
great
could
if
really
it was
work.
True.
Yeah.
The scare zone rumors are always the wild, wild west. I don't know why. Well, I don't know why. If we've kind of talked about on the show before why scare zones just don't get leaked the same way, but it's always I'm never confident about scare zone rumors, and just because it seems like in the past insiders have never really been confident about scare zone rumors. They always pop up on maps and then disappear, or they just kind of get mixed around. I don't know. Scare zone rumors are just something that we just don't really dabble in. No pun intended.
Yeah, not until
I mean, we dabble
get
in
into
them,
once we start getting into like July. I think is kind of the point where it's like, all right, here we go.
But even then, like I'm trying to think.
I mean, if I remember correctly, last year it looked the Horror Night Nightmares map at that point, like once the construction started, looked pretty solid. But the one I do remember standing out that was just vibe wise kind of right, but completely off was they had Graveyard as vampires at that point. I do remember that.
Yeah.
But I will say the others, I think at least 3 of them were very spot on. They had Scarecrow. They had something about Candy. I think Candy Mutants is what they called it.
Candy Mutants,
so that came out. And there was one other that I think was pretty spot on. I just don't remember what it was.
So it's always very it's like very late in the game.
It's usually
we're gonna start getting
late June is when you can kind of really start. Typically, late June and maybe into July is when you can really go like, okay, there might be more credibility.
It's when they start casting characters. To be honest,
yeah,
I think that really is.
Can we entertain the zone for 5 seconds though? Because
yeah, of course.
The casting for acrobats and singers and all of that. I mean, a Blumhouse zone with Megan they could absolutely have
Oh.
somebody doing aerials on a stage,
Oh,
like
That would be
flipping, doing the dance.
yeah,
that'd be great.
100%.
It
100%.
could be for that instead of a show. Like that could be the show element of it instead of like a proper stage show.
Yeah, we have some mic'd up like singers and an actual scare zone this year.
That'd
Like
be cool.
that could be a different scare zone, but yeah.
Have Megan sing
Or
Titanium.
Megan does sing. Megan sings. Yeah,
They get the rights to Titanium.
Yeah.
I would love it.
Is
We
it?
need it.
Do you think that's Universal Music Group?
I don't know.
I'm just saying, like maybe.
Let's see.
Whatever.
Hey, that. Yeah.
I think a Blumhouse zone would be
Sony.
Ah,
Mm,
damn it. Well, thanks for your voicemail.
I mean, we usually get at least one IP zone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's very typical, and I mean Blumhouse would make a lot of sense with the connection, and
Yeah.
and if the rumors are true, Exorcist being a house and not being able to use those other properties in a house, yeah, tie them into the event somehow, right?
Yeah.
if like let's say let's say rumor is true and whatnot, does that mean since is Blumhouse, if we got a zone of that nature, it would have Five Nights at Freddy's in it in some way or fashion?
Oh,
I could see
I
it
don't think
because that is a way to do it without spoiling anything.
Yeah.
Mm.
You just have
That's
characters.
Yeah.
that's
possible.
fair.
And
The
the
trailer
other-
got leaked.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah.
main one is the Last of Us scare zone rumor. But
That's 2 IP zones and then only 3 spots
Yeah,
left for
it just
original.
doesn't necessarily. I think
Uh.
they'll. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time it happened. So
No.
Only problem.
when was the last
with
time that happened?
me,
27?
Like the Last of Us
Yes,
scare
the
zone.
Trick or Treat and
Purge.
Purge.
Yeah. Sorry, go
And I
ahead,
think
Mike.
I may have
Sorry,
said
Mike.
on the last show is my only problem with it is that is a very elaborate, expensive makeup,
Mhm.
and it's gonna have to be even more spot on if you're right up in people's face in the daytime when like it's it's possible, but to me it just doesn't necessarily ring true. That's a very expensive addition to the event to have a
Mhm.
scare zone with The Last of Us as well as a house.
And then
that's some really
You could make the argument it's more just kind of people, but then I feel like you're just kind of wasting a property at that point, right? Then what's the point of even having it in the scare zone?
I feel like it's just gonna be like if it is the zone and they don't do any of the infected, it's gonna look like Survivor Die.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
No, you're gonna have to
Yeah,
have at
that's
least
exactly what it
some
looked
of the
like.
clickers. And
you're
Yeah.
right. You'd have to
loaders
have
and stuff.
something. You'd hope,
Yeah.
but
Something.
I don't know. I feel like it would also be tough because there's in scare zones naturally there's gonna be a lot of kind of walking and trotting around, and like
Yeah.
clickers aren't just gonna be walking around with people hanging out. Like that's not.
You see their sneakers.
I don't know. I feel like it'd bring you a bit out of it. I think.
If I saw a clicker with sneakers on, like just black like Vans, I'm going to laugh. I'm sorry.
Yeah. To me, it just doesn't quite ring true. I think it works way better in a house.
Yeah.
Just logistic wise, and so I'm not sold on this rumor that The Last of Us is going to be a scare zone.
No, I agree. As cool as I think you can make a setting like in New York be for it, I think again logistically it would be so hard to pull it off right.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to our next voicemail.
Hey guys, love the show. Rob, my name is Rob from Orlando. Rumors that I would love to see come to fruition would be Insidious. I think that's an awesome property. I think it has a lot of potential, a lot of capability for some really awesome jump scares. I know there's probably a lot of other properties out there that people might think of, before that one, but to me that one is going to be awesome if it does come this year. And of course, I think the Phantom would be awesome too. So, like to hear your guys' thoughts, and love the show, and see you in the fog.
Thanks for the voicemail, Rob. I guess we kind of did chat about this not too long ago because there were talks about it being in a Blumhouse compilation house. And I think my take is basically no, it wouldn't be the first property I'd shoot for. However, scary as hell in a house setting, that's for sure.
I'd rather have
yeah.
it than Exorcist,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
It wasn't it. It was part of 27's Blumhouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got wrecked in that house.
Yeah, I think that was the scariest part of the house by far. And then, HHN 25's Insidious House is considered one of the scarier IP houses they've done. So,
yeah, I wouldn't be mad to see it. I'd be more excited than Exorcist for sure at this point. But
I will say the trailer for the new one doesn't look half bad, and I didn't even like. I mean, I didn't love the first one. I thought it was fine, but the trailer for this one looks like it has some really creative shots and ideas, and I'm like, okay, I'm interested to see how this one plays out, and maybe it could work great for a horror night setting, even though the likelihood of us getting it at least is probably not very likely at all. But I mean, maybe it could be a Hollywood exclusive or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's quite likely, to be honest, Jonathan. And they always get at least one or two that we don't get, so in a normal year. So it's very possible that they will end up with the Blumhouse, and we do not.
Hi, so I've been listening to you guys for a while. Super excited for this HHN season. Ready to hear a house announcement. There's one thing I wanted to talk about, though. The Demon Slayer house on the spec map. As much as I would love anime representation at HHN, I just don't think it's going to be Demon Slayer. I would kind of rather it be, to be completely honest, Attack on Titan, because I think there's a lot of cool things they could do with that. I get the logistics of why they couldn't, but I just don't think it is. I've seen so many people talk about it, and I know it's just speculation, but I don't think it is. If it is, that's going to be amazing, and I think it's going to be awesome. I also think the top secret that's been on the spec map, it has to do something with aliens. I don't know. It's just a feeling. Also, Last of Us, I feel like they might fake us out and make it a scare zone instead of a house. Now, I don't get to go to the one in Orlando because I live all the way out on the West Coast, but I also think that the tram, we haven't heard a lot about that. I want to know what that's about. All I've seen is celebrities, and then I've seen another one that said it's going to be rappers, and I just want to know more about that. Also, what are your thoughts on the tram? What did you think of Halloween Harry? Personally, I thought it was super cool. And would you like that sort of thing to come to Orlando? All right, guys. Awesome talking to you. Have a good day.
Oh, thank you for your voicemail. We got a lot to discuss off that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love
Um,
it.
Juicy one.
Right. One I can immediately jump to that I thought was fun is kind of that gut feeling you seem to have about like Top Secret being like an alien based thing. Invasion, the past scare zone from HHN Orlando, has been rumored. We have discussed that it seems like that's died out a bit, but it was something that was rumored. So just throwing that out there. Maybe you could be onto something.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I'd love to see it. I'd rather have that than the Yeti rumor going around right now.
Me
I
too.
think it's a very good concept for a house, taking them and using their silliness and scariness at the same time, like to their advantage. I love silly houses like that, and I think it could make for a really good house in really any location, wherever they wanted to throw it.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Also discussed Last of Us being a scare zone rather than a house, which again we, funnily enough, just discussed directly. Where I think we're all along the lines of believing logistically that'd be a tough thing to pull off. So
Yeah.
I think house might make more sense, but I mean, not everything they've done has made sense. So you never know.
I'm more just think it'll be one or the other. I do think a
Yeah.
house makes more sense, but I just don't see them necessarily doing both. It's a lot of really elaborate makeup,
Yeah.
and two different casts for two different, two different
You need 4 casts
experiences.
technically
It's-
because
yeah, 4, right? 'Cause you
cast
got-
A and B
yeah,
for
cast,
both.
yeah, exactly. So 4 casts, 2 different casts for 2 different experiences. So
Yeah.
4 casts total. That's a lot. That's a lot of makeup.
Yeah.
For this,
I also don't see a world where if they do both, the house doesn't exit into the zone. And I know that the map locations are incorrect, but like this would have to be in, you know, the soundstage where Halloween was, or um Chupacabra, like one of those, and then exit into New York where the zone is for this to like work perfectly in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't be mad at that. I think like one of the things I loved about going to Hollow Scream, my actually not we don't even talk about. I mean, Hollow Scream did it where you went into a house and then you exited into a zone that was themed sort of to that house. Like you went
Mhm.
into a house that had ice, and then the zone
Yeah.
was ice.
Hollywood does it all the time. Holidays in Hell.
yeah.
Or not what am I, the Scream Queens was at the end of Bride, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, all of that shit. So like it works. We've just never done it really.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than the Walking Dead year, it was like all Walking
Oh,
Dead,
yeah,
and we
that's
had a
right.
Walking Dead house. That was, I would say, the closest thing to it.
Mhm.
Right?
That's cheating. If every zone is Walking Dead, it's inevitable all the houses exit to Walking Dead.
Yes.
Ugh. Is there anything else?
Also discussed Demon Slayer and how you did not think that was coming, and I think we all agree with you there. As far as other animes, I have so little anime knowledge that I can't even fully comment. But if it's something you'd be excited about, I hope you get to see it one day.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I don't think we're really an anime
No.
ear to the ground podcast.
No.
No.
Although I do know that Attack on Titan has been out like an experience at Universal Japan, like a walkthrough attraction before. So
Mhm.
you mentioned Attack on Titan. It is something that Universal, at least in Japan, has dabbled with before. So I would say you might be onto something that not necessarily this year, but in the future, if they wanted to do Attack on Titan, there is precedence.
Mm-hmm. And then I believe the final one was asking about the Terror Tram, our thoughts, and if we'd like to see something like that in Orlando. And in my opinion, last year's Terror Tram was the best one I've seen in Hollywood. Well,
Mm.
that's the only place it is, so the best one I've seen.
I really enjoyed it.
It was kind of, I don't know, it was a little wonky thinking about how they execute something like that, where it was Hollywood Harry and then also Nope, and I thought it worked really well. I think it flowed nicely, and it was you know, the story they put together, having Hollywood Harry out there for like the meet and greet before.
Mhm.
There's just a lot of fun little things, and I thought it was the best execution, and it didn't feel too sloppy at any point, like I thought it has in the past.
Yeah, it was also like a nice way for Hollywood to shoehorn in the like traditional Halloween aspect
Mhm.
of the year and match what we did. So then like the merchandise also made sense. So, you know, you got off the tram and then there was Harry and the pumpkin guys and all that. And then you went into it. And like for me, I went in with zero expectations for the Terror Tram because I had never experienced anything like that. And I think that that is probably just a really good way to go into it every year. Zero expectations, go for the walk and enjoy your time. And it is a lot of fun.
Yep.
I like that mindset because like the only one I experienced before last year was 2021's The Purge, which I went into thinking The Purge is a perfect property for that sort of thing because you can throw The Purge anywhere and it could just work. And I walked through it and I was like, this is fine. There's so many dead spots. It's whatever, it was a tram. And so I wasn't really looking forward to the new one much at all. And then I don't know, the music, the character designs, the puns, like I think it was the bats, like being like baseball players holding like baseball bats. Like I thought that was really fun. It made me fall in love with the character of Hollywood Harry, which I really didn't know much about before going to the event. And having all of that silliness up front, and your heart rate's racing, like, oh, this is fun. I'm getting scared. It's a high vibe, and then you immediately go into Nope, where it's like silence, everyone's just staring at you, you're supposed to feel uncomfortable, like that. Almost by having both of those two in that order, it almost made the Nope section even more impactful because you went from like all the way up like high intensity like energy to all the way down real fast, and it just made that section a whole lot more creepy. So I think it was beautiful, and I'm really excited to see what they have planned this year, especially if what we were talking about in terms of like celebrities, if those happen to be YouTubers or something like making fun of HHN people. Like
Dead meat.
that's something I'd really like.
Yes, please. And then as far, would we like to see something like that in Orlando? I would love to. It's just not really possible at all,
Yeah.
unfortunately. We had a tram tour at one point, multiple decades ago, but yeah, it would be cool. But we don't need it as much as Hollywood, and it's
Mhm.
honestly just not feasible whatsoever with what's available to them land wise.
So instead of a tram tour, what if they just did like some sort of experience where they opened up, like, say, like Lost Continent or something,
Mhm.
and had you like walk over backstage to one little area of Iowa and to have a similar type of experience, and then had you walk back, like, like, because that's my idea of kind of like, I've never done Hollywood, but my idea is like they take you into a tram area and then you kind of have a little bit of a walkthrough experience.
Mhm.
I think,
Yeah.
could you see them doing something like that, or expanding to parts of Iowa, not all of Iowa, but expanding to, having a house or two open, and having kind of the backstage areas connect to
Mhm.
having Iowa just open just a little bit. There was one year where they did do that, 2004, right?
Mhm.
Where they had both parks technically open.
Yep.
Do you ever see them doing that again?
No, I don't. I just don't see logistically the need for Iowa, and
Yeah.
the thing is that walk does not seem bad when you look at it, either from an aerial like on Google Maps or just kind of looking across from park to park. It doesn't seem terrible. That walk sucks. Like
It sucks.
they need
I've done
they
it.
need to make
Yes.
it like a legit full experience all the
Mhm.
way through, which in 2004 was kind of an intention, but by all accounts was not very well executed and just kind of became a long walk with, I think, basically some shit at both ends of it, you know. Um, so I just don't. And then you have to close down IOA early every night
Mhm.
still, and so you're losing that advantage. I just don't see any way they honestly ever do a split park thing ever again, or go back to IOA at all for that
Also,
matter.
wouldn't you have to cut through where lines are for the houses and the sound stages? Like, where
Um,
would the walking path go then?
well,
Like,
no, because it could be by Blue Man Group. They could do that.
Yeah. Those
okay.
are the probably the closest places
Mm.
where
Isn't that a
the
stay and scream entrance though, technically, for the hotel guests? That's their
Oh
early
yeah, they
entrance.
did. They did last year. They did have that one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah.
And they had it the year before.
Oh yeah, that's true. It was an entrance the year before, and this one it was like a full stay and scream holding
Yeah.
area, right?
And you went into Hellblock
Yeah.
first, and like if they do like a big IP up there this year, that's not an option. So
Obviously, if they wanted to make it happen, they would make it happen. But
yeah.
we just don't think that it really is. There's really not necessary for them
No.
to happen.
I-
They have enough space if they wanted to expand into houses or more zones. They have enough space in that just the park that they have to
Mhm.
have more houses or zones if they wanted to.
Exactly.
All right. I think our last one is from the same person, our last two.
Hey, I'm back. So how's it going, everybody? Listen, okay, I know I overshot my shot with the Lady Gaga thing, and that I don't think it's gonna happen either. So, all right, let's move on. Dr. Oddfellow, this has got to be happening. It makes so much sense. They're giving us all the clues, the static in there. I don't think that's Jack in there, but I do see the brim of a hat. I don't know, man. Caretaker, I don't know. So here's a little bit about me. I'm new to HHN. Last year was my first year. I got too hyped on the Weeknd shit, and I'm super in it to win it now. I'm moving down to Orlando next year, and we're gonna do this shit live. You know what I mean? So I'm super excited. The Last of Us is gonna be dope. I don't think that the Demon Slayer thing is a thing. I do believe that that's something for possibly, let's think, Stranger Things. You know what I mean? What do? They slaying demons in that bitch, man. Come on. And Dragon House, I definitely think we're getting a Dragon House. That just seems like it's going to be too big of a prop, and somebody synced that shit, and that's how the leak got out. So I'm super excited about that. The dates I'm going to be there is, we're going to be there September 7th through the 13th. I really hope to see y'all. Man, I'm just so excited. Devil goes down to Georgia. Jonathan, you better game up on that song, bro. You better get it. But hey, real talk. Love you guys like I love y'all. I'm just so excited. Let's get it.
I believe there's a part 2 here. Hold on.
There is a part.
I have so much to say about part 1.
Also, I just wanted to add, Idaho is boring as fuck. All right, there's no offense to that. That's why I'm motherfucking moving. So hey, see y'all in the fog, baby.
You know, I knew.
I love him.
As someone who grew up in Salt Lake City, when I said that Idaho was boring, I knew I wasn't offending you for the most part. Like, unless it's like one of those things where like Florida, when people crap on Florida, like I crap on Florida all the time, but when other people crap on Florida, I get pissed.
Yeah, no.
Is it maybe it's like one of those situations? But I had a feeling it wasn't. Idaho, I get it. I get it. I'm from Salt Lake. It's just like Idaho with Mormons. So I get it, man.
Idaho with
Fair.
Mormons.
Fair.
There's Mormons in Idaho.
That's our next shirt design, everybody.
Well, I'm happy you're getting out of boring ass Idaho and coming to Orlando. Congratulations. I'm sure we'll definitely see you in the parks for sure.
Yo, before we move on, can we just talk about the image of that? The reason why the dragon's house was leaked is that the dragons were too fucking big to put a tarp over. And they just
I love it.
Like, hey,
They're driving down I-4.
We need an extra tarp, like to put this over.
We're gonna need a bigger tarp.
And you're like, it'll be all right. And then like, and then someone walks by and just snaps a pic of the fucking tarp over the dragon face.
Listen, it's happened. It wouldn't be the first time.
No. Jonathan, are you okay? I think you were threatened about Devil and down to Georgia.
No, it's a very fair threat. It's something I do need to do still. I've listened to a lot more about it. I don't think I got to the whole thing yet. My brain works weird, but it will happen someday.
It surely does. Yes, that's correct.
The 10-page dissection I'm staring at for this episode.
Well, I wrote this in like
in a few minutes you'll realize why you didn't have time to study up on Dabble with Georgia.
Jonathan, quick question while we're on the subject of how your mind works, because I've only skimmed through this house dissection. How many times do you mention Kermit?
0.
Okay,
but, like I can change that if you want.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Kermit,
it's an inside joke. You don't want to know. I swear.
Okay,
I
I'm
promise.
gonna add it in some point. I'll figure it out now. When I read it, I'm gonna figure out the perfect time to talk about Kermit. Now that you mentioned that,
phenomenal.
All right,
but
is that all for Westfield?
I think
so we can get to this
also,
10-page.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
Section.
well, just talking. Also, the voicemail talked about Oddfellow, right?
Yeah.
And Hidden in the Static.
Mhm.
The character.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I know that's something that we
speaking our language.
It's something that we
I love you like I love you.
Yo, how did you say a hat though? Like
Mike, do you see anything in that video? Like honestly,
Mike hasn't seen anything at all. He's like, he's confused by any item you can find.
Nothing is popping out at me.
I swear I see a porpoise in there. There's a porpoise in the fog, in the static.
Go cross-eyed, then I'll start to see the butterflies. Like I see nothing, man.
Mike's like, is this
one of my coworkers said that like there's something about Five Nights at Freddy's in there. Like
No.
I think that's bullshit, but I see nothing.
Yeah.
People are seeing what they want to see. That's all.
Yeah.
That's what it is. This is a test. It's not an actual thing. It's what you want to see.
Right?
We're all going crazy, man.
Right? It's just you stare at it long enough, you see what you want to see out of it.
The thing was the actual picture didn't matter as much as the voice did, right? Because the minute the voice started, you can like tell. Like I think I mentioned this before. That it's not like it doesn't sound like anybody we've known before, you know. And I feel like that's the biggest giveaway if you aren't able to see like in the static, like at least that we might not know who it is, but it's probably not someone that we were introduced to before. So yeah, we've talked about before. The insiders talked about Oddfellow. Legacy did straight up. So Yeah, I mean that's what we're thinking, at least, that that person in the static is in fact Oddfellow.
We'll find out.
We'll certainly find, hopefully soon.
Hmm.
This week. Come on, please do it.
That's
Please do.
I'd be okay if that was the announcement. Like
Ooh,
if
are
they
we
just
taking new
announced.
bets? Are we taking new bets?
All right, here we go. Let's do
Oh,
that quick.
God.
I want next
Quick
week.
bets.
I want Tuesday next week.
Tuesday next week.
Whatever that is. I don't know what that date is, but that's what I want.
That you got the 16th.
Perfect. I like that.
That
Let's
sounds
go with
actually
that.
pretty good. Mike, what do you got?
Hey.
I don't know. I don't know.
Just say a number.
Just pick a date.
31st.
Wednesday the 31st. All right.
Cool. There are 31 days in this month. I did not know that.
Yes.
There is, right? There is
Yeah,
31 days.
no, there
No,
are.
you're right.
You're
Yep, it's
right.
Wednesday. You got it.
I was the one who didn't know.
Jonathan.
Ooh. So you did Tuesday next week, so I'm gonna go Wednesday next week.
Well, in that case, I'm going to go Thursday next week, the 18th.
Oh, come on. Y'all we're gonna price it. Wait, is it
So
whoever
I think it's going to be
after.
after the event. You guys think it's going to be
Yes.
before?
Oh,
Yeah.
spooky.
Oh, come on.
We're
An
just-
announcement on the 18th and a panel on the 19th. Come on, chef's
Watch
kiss.
it be this
Yeah.
week.
Right. It's
And
tomorrow.
none of us picked
The
this
episode's
week.
going to drop with an HHN
That's how
announcement.
it always goes.
I
It's
do
true.
think we'll get one in May, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm pretty. I don't
Can
want to
I
say
add a
confident,
little-
but it seems
Can I
like
add a little spice onto this bet?
Sure.
I think it's gonna be monsters.
I also think it's going to be monsters. To be fair, so
Mm.
I think it's going to be The Last of Us.
Oh.
I think they're gonna go with a big. They're not going to blow their big one with Stranger Things yet, but I
No.
do think it'll be a really big one, and I
Mm.
think it's going to be The Last of Us.
okay.
Jonathan picks the weekend.
Yeti.
It's the weekend. It's all last as in the Weeknd's gonna have his last album soon, and of us as in we've all of us have listened to the Weeknd. No, but I
Against
do
our
think
will.
it's gonna be monsters as well. Honestly, only for the fact that I mean, not only for the fact, but if you're gonna if they're gonna present anything like they did last year and show try to show some pictures, some concept art, I assume it wouldn't Universal Monsters is an IP, but it's one they're more lenient on. I'd assume it wouldn't be anything like The Last of Us or Rumored Last of Us or Stranger Things. Monsters is the one that you can show concept art and stuff like that. If they were going that route at all, which they could just not talk about the announcement or just glance over it and talk about the more important stuff.
don't
But
know.
we'll see how they do it.
I don't know. Naughty Dog might let them show concept art if they do announce it. They might be more lenient.
Maybe.
We're not
Maybe.
dealing with a production. We're
I mean,
dealing with
yeah.
a game company, not a TV
If it's
movie.
going to be a design and makeup focused panel,
Mm.
I could see them really focusing on the makeup from The Last of Us is going to be a huge aspect
Yeah.
of this year. And, it's going to be just a draw, right?
Mhm.
It's those character designs are going to be a big draw, and I think I know I said the 31st, but I do think there's definitely a possibility that there isn't an announcement before this panel, and they're going to talk about the what went into some of these designs for sure. I definitely foresee that happening over in July for Midsummer Scream. They're definitely going to focus on the designs of The Last of Us. I just feel like you have to talk about it. It's going to be a huge aspect. It's,
Right, you do
there's
want to
gonna
talk
be a
it
whole
up for sure.
episode on the official Universal podcast on the makeup of this year. I'm calling
Sort of
it
like
now.
they've done the Greg Nicotero videos in the past, something like that with Last of
Yes.
Us. Yeah.
Yeah,
They did,
it's happening.
I think it was at a panel. I think it was. I don't know if it was the media night thing or something. But for Stranger Things, the first year they talked about how it was the first year that they used 3D printing in the makeup, and there was a whole discussion about it. And I have a feeling for Last of Us, they're going to be using 3D scans for the models from what they had from the game and stuff like that. And that's stuff that they've never talked about using before, and they might have never actually used it. So
Oh.
Yeah.
them teaming up with a game that's not the first time that they've done it. Obviously, we've had Silent Hill and whatever. But this just feels different,
It feels very different.
It does.
and
It's-
that makes me excited.
It's going to be a game changer.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Haha.
Ah. All right, well, we got our dates locked in. So let's get into it. It's back. We're finally doing it again. Mike, remember when house dissections were our bread and butter. It's what people listen to the most. It's what they asked for the most. They'd request
Yes.
houses all the time for us to do a house dissection of, but there's so much fucking work that
Yeah, I
we
thought.
just. I think it's
Yeah.
been over 2 years at this point since we.
Yeah, a little
For
bit of
sure.
inside baseball. Like, I think people have asked for house dissections, and we admitted, like, we love them, but they're just so much
Mhm.
work to do. And I don't think, like, we realized when we came up with the, like, oh, we're gonna just talk about the way the cues go, and like all this stuff that we thought at the time was just like nerding out. We didn't realize just how much work it is to research all of it. And all like the silly stuff that we used to do with dissections. It takes a lot of research to do all of that. And while as much as we love doing them, we just always when it came down to actually doing them, we always were like, oh God. But it helps when you're really passionate about what you're doing. And on this one, we have someone who is very, very, very passionate about a particular house. So Jonathan took the ball and ran with it, and they're back, baby. They're back. I think this is the way it works: is when one of us has a house that we just really want to nerd out on. That's when we're going to see dissections shine. Is that when someone, one of us, just has the passion to really nerd out on a house? That's when we'll see them sprinkle back into the show.
All right,
And
Jonathan,
it's
pressure's on. The lifeline of house dissections is on your back.
Oh Jesus Christ. Okay. I will want to say before we start is that the reason I wanted to pick this one specifically is that it is my favorite. I mean, at least currently my favorite Halloween Horror Nights house, and it's the one where so much can be up to interpretation that it's very fun to discuss. You know, a lot of houses, they're it's very clear what they're trying to tell, and you can just sort of say like, what was your opinion on the story and this and that. The Weeknd has a story, and we're going to discuss it. And I think it has a very deep story and important story and interesting story for Halloween Horror Nights, but it's never explicitly told. From point A to point B, it's told in a very weird format, at least the way I interpreted it. So I feel like that's going to make this like a super interesting discussion compared to some other houses. And funny enough, it kind of relates to this in a way. I think The Weeknd just announced that his next album is going to be his last one. So this is like, I don't know, that almost makes his house feel a little more important. Like this might be one of the things he wanted to do before he knew his persona, The Weeknd, was over. Maybe this was like on his bucket list, like, all right, got to do this before I go, or, stuff like that. But yeah, let's just get right into it. And let's start off how, every announcement starts, and that is the description of the house. Prepare to enter the macabre mind of The Weeknd in this haunted house as he stalks your squad through the surreal nightmare of his after-hours music. A slasher carving a smile at an otherworldly rave. A bandaged maniacs performing extreme plastic surgery. A grotesque mannequin masquerade. His nightmare is now yours. The Weeknd After Hours Nightmare property was featured at both coasts, Hollywood and Orlando, but the one we're going to be talking about today specifically is the Orlando version, and it was located in the New Parade Warehouse, which is where things like Universal Monsters 29 was, and
Seeds of Extinction.
Yeah. So like that area right there. And let's get into some background information on the house. So how did this house come to be? How did HHN even grab a property as big and as I'd say very unique for HHN as The Weeknd? And basically, The Weeknd's team reached out to HHN and asked if they could make a house based on his After Hours album, and they said yes. And now we have the house. The Weeknd himself worked together with both Orlando and Hollywood to help create this haunted house. He was a part of the process the whole way through. They had a meeting with him, both Orlando people, Hollywood people, to come together and make this story come to life. This house was inspired by films that inspire the album itself, such as A Clockwork Orange, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, 12 Monkeys, and Jacob's Ladder. And the approach to the house wasn't just to retell the album After Hours. As Charles Gray puts it, it's quotation marks, it's entering the nightmares that were the muse for his songs, end quotation marks. So this isn't just a retelling of the album. It's a complete, interesting interpretation of what was the Weeknd thinking, or what was his nightmares when he was coming up with this album. And now we're going to move right into the house itself. First, starting off with the facade, which is kind of interesting because if you guys know, the new parade building, the facade is actually on the building itself. Before you even go inside, you got a little facade there. And basically, a vinyl sticker that looked like a vinyl album could be seen on the front of the new parade warehouse, where the entrance in. There's a big sticker right there that you can see. The sticker was the Weeknd After Hours Nightmare album, and 3 versions of the Weeknd from different moments of his After Hours era, which on the left you had him being really happy, with lights of a casino being reflected in his sunglasses. The middle, you had a beaten Weeknd, and he was very sad and angry. And on the right, you had a bandaged Weeknd where his whole face is covered up in white bandages. They were on its cover. A vinyl record could be seen sticking out of the album on the left. Now, the cue itself is very interesting. It's not just like your normal house cue. It was really, I feel like it was made particularly for this house to make it feel like a concert, because it was set up similarly to a concert with plenty of multicolored lights and speakers that turned waiting into a party. In this cue, they played a lot of songs from the Weeknd's albums from After Hours and Dawn FM. But originally, when the house opened, and for like a week or two after, only 3 songs played in this area on a loop. It was In Your Eyes, Blinding Lights, and Save Your Tears, which were all from the After Hours album. During each of these particular songs, different projections would be shown on the album facade. For example, during the song In Your Eyes, a projection would be on the vinyl sticker that would show the Weeknd's eyes would turn red and blood would drip down the album. During Blinding Lights, on the sticker, they had a projection of lights that would form the shape of the Sin City skyline, obviously referencing the Sin City's cold and empty line. And then for Save Your Tears, they had projections that made the album look like it was spinning around and it would become multicolored, like a weird, music video type thing. However, on September 3rd, more songs were added to the queue to, I'd assume, make the line experience a lot more enjoyable. Hearing the same 3 songs on loop would have severely hurt this house. So they added more songs really quickly. But they were all from the relatively recent album that came out during that time, a little earlier, but that was Dawn FM, which is the sequel to After Hours. And the songs that played were Gasoline, Sacrifice, How Do I Make You Love Me, Take My Breath, Don't Break My Heart, and I know Jess's favorite, Less Than Zero.
3 of those were WrestleMania theme songs in the last 3 years, okay? Jesus fucking Christ.
So I know you guys didn't really experience the queue because you guys had espresso a lot of the times you were just going straight in. But do you have any opinions like on how this queue was maybe like compared to other Cows queues? Did you have a good time in it?
I mean, yeah, I think it definitely added more flair than your average just walking through a bunch of switchbacks, and maybe there is a screen yelling at you with extremely loud speakers. It brought a party atmosphere. Like the lighting was a nice addition. The songs became sing-alongs a lot. So yeah, I mean, I think especially for the Weeknd, they nailed it and brought a queue experience that was more enjoyable than your average one.
Yeah, Jonathan, I actually don't even didn't even know like some of these projections, like the eyes like turning red and like I never noticed that. That is something that is brand new to me. I did not know that happened.
That's one of the quote unquote benefits of not having Express and waiting in extremely long lines in this queue.
I remember passing you a few times while you were in standby in this. And you always look so happy. That's not like a negative thing. Like, you were always vibing. Everybody was always having a good time. Even I was. Sometimes I was like, I kind of wish we could like finish hearing the song,
Mhm.
or like I'm chugging my lacto cooler over on the side, just like dancing. And my hair used to glow over there, so like, R.I.P.
It was just such a great atmosphere. It definitely helped the, like it definitely helped the queue experience for me go a lot faster than it was, because I've waited in like hour lines for that house, maybe longer, and it's never felt the length because of the songs and the everyone singing along to it. Always was just like, you know what, I'm waiting, but I'm not waiting doing nothing. At least there is atmosphere and something keeping me occupied, and I think that's important. I think a lot of other houses should have, like, it doesn't have to be a party atmosphere, but either cue videos or something to sort of take your mind off of the length of the queue ahead of you. And that doesn't mean commercials, because that does not count.
Or does
Commercials
it?
do not count. No.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna pray? Okay. So let's move on to scene one, which this one's not explicitly named, but in a lot of articles, because I got a lot of this information from articles that were posted from just Hollywood articles, from Orlando and Hollywood articles. They all share, both of the coasts share the same story, like pretty much 100%. So scene one, I'm going to call Nightmare Extraction. You first enter a mini hallway that looks like a lab of sorts. Multiple buttons on a gray panel can be seen to your left, and 3 huge pipes with flashing purple and red colors can be seen to your right, along with a vent under it that is glowing red. Originally, this room and the following room played the song In Your Eyes. Later in the event, this changed to a distorted, nightmarish version of Die For You from the Starboy album. And yes, I should clarify, this house after September 3rd, all of like the songs in the house, a lot of them changed. So I will be talking about what was there previously as well as what happened after the change. So originally In Your Eyes, then a nightmarish version of Die For You. And I actually wanted to stop right here for 1 second, because my friend actually pointed out something, because he was reading along to this and he was like, oh, so that they flash purple and red colors, right? I'm like, yeah, like it was interesting. He's like, is that supposed to represent like a heart? And I'm like, oh, maybe. Like, I think that actually makes a lot of sense for what I'm about to
Mhm.
say. What the song's about, Die For You, is all about like heartache and stuff like that. So I think it makes a lot of sense. What do you guys think?
I definitely didn't notice that until you just said it. Um, so instead, I'll speak about how I thought it was a great change when it happened. When it happened immediately, I did not. But "Die for You" specifically, out of all the songs added, and that version of it just works so well in that scene.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I loved that we got a Starboy song. Starboy is my favorite Weekend album, probably, and the fact that we got it, and we got it like very first, I was nerding out about that. I love it.
You listen to that song on its own and you would never think it could be remixed in a way that it could work for Halloween Horror Nights. But like you said, Duff, it might be the one that's remixed the best out of all of the songs there, because it just is a perfect mood setter, and it takes you out of that like party atmosphere that, even like when originally had In Your Eyes in the beginning, In Your Eyes was still a party atmosphere house, like song. The minute you get the Die For You, dun 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 dun, it immediately like puts you in, oh, this is dark. Like, yes, I'll have fun in it, but this is a lot darker than the cue implied.
Yeah, I think that one song change is part of the reason why I liked it opening weekend. I did, but then it became number 2 for me by the end of the season, because it just really set the tone of the house so much better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
Do we want to speculate, like why the change happened? If it was always going to be this particular way, and then things like the sound checks just weren't quite ready yet, or like there was a problem? What happened? Do you want to speculate what happened here?
Jonathan,
Why
I
the
feel like you probably got better ideas than I do about that one.
yeah, so okay, here's some speculation. Hollywood, when their house opened, like, because their event started later than us. When their house opened, it had all of the songs plus a couple more that we had, in addition to for example, the Die For You started their house, just like ours ended up starting our house as well later. It was funny because when they opened their house and all these song changes were there, I was like listening to them. I was like sort of watching spoilers a little bit, and I was like, whoa, their house has these songs. Isn't that crazy? But the minute we switched all over to basically all these songs, subtracting a couple that Hollywood had, I was like, oh, this is probably always the plan, because the songs that we had in place of the new ones always seemed like filler. Especially, there's one scene that we'll talk about later. There's a scene where Save Your Tears plays on a loop, and it just goes like, I don't know why I run away. And it's just super quick loop that's just like very annoying. And I was like, that doesn't sound like it was on purpose. It sounds like that was them getting something together quickly because, I don't know, something happened, because it didn't seem like it fit that particular scene.
Yeah, and I remember like when they announced this house, they announced it from EW, like an Entertainment Weekly article that came out like on the same day as they announced it. So like Entertainment Weekly scooped this house. I remember, if I recall,
Yep.
and that I actually pulled it up. That article came out on July 26, 2022, and in it they basically for the like say what songs are going to be featured, and they list After Hours, In Your Eyes, Heartless, Blinding Lights, Save Your Tears, and Too Late are going to be featured, and is broken down into three sections, preceded by indoctrination into the performer's subconscious. So this is not what ends up in the finished product. Not exactly, is
Not
it?
Orlando's.
That was Hollywood's, right?
And Hollywood
is-
even had extra songs.
But the article says it's both. That's the thing that's annoying.
Yeah, the article does say
Because they
it's both.
also directly interview, is it Charles Gray, right? I believe was in the Entertainment Weekly article. Yeah, so they it was very much supposed to be, hey, all this stuff, both coasts.
So it's
Yeah.
weird that there was a change.
Yeah.
It's very strange because like some of the songs, I'm trying to think of the ones you mentioned. Like some of the songs would like fit perfectly in these new spots. I mean, Heartless in the hotel scene, like even Hollywood has that, you know. And for some reason, we did Save Your Tears, which I think works. But it's still strange why we didn't get Heartless. Like, was that just a creative choice? You know, did they think we don't need those? Was there something happening with rights, which would be weird if there's problem with rights from like one coast to another? I don't know. I really don't know, and it's very strange. I do think all the song choices we ended up with still work with the scenes and fit thematically, but I think I wonder what my opinion would have been and what our opinion would have been if we got a lot of the Hollywood songs in Orlando's version. But to continue this, so we're not here forever, let's move right into the main opening scene right after you enter that little hallway. And basically, you walk through clear meat locker curtains, and we enter the Nightmare Extraction Chamber. We see The Weeknd dressed in his red suit and sunglasses, bound to a chair with a helmet on his head. Very Clockwork Orange. The helmet has multiple wires connected to it that lead to multiple TVs that surround him. It is sucking out his nightmares, represented by flashing colors and showing them visually on the TV screens through various disturbing videos that go by very quickly. For a minute, I'm like, I'm going to figure out what each of these disturbing videos are. And then I tried and I'm like, I can't, because they go by so fast. And a lot of them just look like clips from the house that are like just going by really quickly, along with just like footage of like the Weeknd, like Bandage Weeknd laughing and stuff like that. So I don't think any of them were, I think they were important, but they went by too fast to even like notice exactly what each one of them was, which was the point. I think even John Murdy described them for his Hollywood house as they were supposed to be like subliminal messages that you weren't really supposed to tell what they were. They were supposed to go by so fast that you thought you saw something, but you weren't sure, and it was just affecting you on a subconscious level. And moving forward, the room itself is a white tiled room with gray vents on top. And this is inspired directly from when the room the Weeknd was in during his Vivo performances of Faith In Your Eyes, and Alone Again. This is that room. If you look at those videos and you look at that room, you'll be like, oh yeah, it's the same room, just, you know, taking a little bit of a different interpretation of that. And how do we think of this? Like we talked about how the song, you know, had a great opening scene, it had like a great vibe, you know, starting off the house with, but how do we think this really first image of the house impacted us?
I mean, I'll go back to exactly what I said before. And for that first weekend, I don't think it hit too hard. And as soon as they changed it and got that mix of Die For You, it really fit the tone of what was going on. Um, while not being a large room, I thought that was almost better because it was like one-on-one time with with the Weeknd right there, you know. And I thought I don't know, it just kind of felt more personal. You're right there.
Intimate.
It was an intimate moment.
The old
right?
fireside chat
Aw.
with the Weeknd.
But yeah, I thought it was a great way to set the tone of the house. And not to really talk about Hollywood so much. I know that a lot of people think the Hollywood version was better because it was a bigger room and he had more movement. I don't know. It was bright and big and it didn't work the same for me. I think Orlando's nailed the vibe of exactly what that scene should have been.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, we probably are going to be going, you know, sort of back and forth to Hollywood like a little bit because it's hard not to, because both of the houses are laid out very similarly because they were both made probably like in, you know, like, or the both stories were worked together with the Weeknd. Both coasts worked together with him, so the stories are going to be very, very, very similar in the way the scenes are laid out. But their Weeknd, like his head was moving back and forth, and he was screaming, like the sound of, like, I don't know what exactly that voice was, but it didn't sound like the Weeknd. It sounded like, I think one of the screams sounded like Goofy going like, ah, you know, like his class. That's not what he sounds like, but whatever.
That was
not how he
amazing.
sounds like at all. What the fuck was that?
I want that on a soundboard. Can we put that on the soundboard, guys?
We'll record them
I
later.
can only imagine that theirs is just like just going crazy. Just like, just
It
like,
is.
No, yeah. No, it's exactly what it is, and it's weird. It's a little
theirs
weird.
cranked up to 11. It's just going.
But like, this is supposed to be a nightmare, right? He's supposed to be completely into his thoughts, you know? So I don't think him moving really makes a lot of sense.
Also,
like,
that
he's
is the weirdest shaped body I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, yeah.
I don't. His entire body is somehow built like a giraffe's neck, like just the whole body.
I vividly remember his shoes, like just staring at them every time I walked by. I know that's so specific, but his feet were right there.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. That's what I have to say about the first one.
That's all.
Hey, you wanted me on this Weeknd dissection.
Hey,
We're gonna do it my way.
Different interpretations, you know?
Good old
different
giraffe neck.
Giraffe looking bitch.
But one of my favorite things about this is that we're going to talk about my interpretation of the story, which is not like any official interpretation. It's just mine. I think it's fun. And I always viewed this scene, especially with the music choice of Die For You, which the lyrics were just die for you, baby, I would die for you, remixed over and over and over again, is that this is him looking back into his past, right? This is him looking at all of his faults, particularly with relationships, how he probably messed them up a lot. And did bad things and had, you know, toxic relationships and all that. And this is the start of him looking back into all of that before we actually dive into his head and see what he's actually thinking, you know, like what can get him to this state where he's in this room, just completely being tortured, you know, practically. And we'll find out with scene 2. Scene 2, we're leaving the extraction chamber. You pass to another layer of meat locker curtains. That's what I call them. And enter and then a thin layer of black curtains to enter the After Hours Club. This is represented by a hanging glowing sign with the same name located at the end of the room. This area of the house was inspired by the After Hours Club from the In Your Eyes music video. In this club, you can hear a remix version of, you guessed it, In Your Eyes play. Specifically the lyrics, in your eyes, I see there's something burning inside you, oh, inside you, over and over and over again, starting off normally until becoming more distorted. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. The nightclub is set in a dirty industrial warehouse, yet it is filled with guests. Throughout the room, you can see multiple mannequins standing near white tables, most with diamond masks inspired by the DJ in the Save Your Tears music video. I think, if I remember correctly, they actually sold those masks inspired by like
They
that DJ.
absolutely
Like,
did.
yeah, they were crazy expensive. I remember looking at them like, that'd be fun. I'm like, oh no, absolutely not. But yeah, they did sell those.
I just
on-
imagine Jonathan deciding to buy one. Just walking around with it. That'd be really cool.
I do the whole episode and I'm like, I'm ready, guys.
That's our new TikTok. It's just
On the tables lay bottles and glasses filled with alcohol. Two of the patrons in the far right corner of the room near the exit are lizard human hybrids that are smoking hookah. Right next to them, neon signs of an axe and a broken glass spilling liquid can be seen, foreshadowing what is to come. So something interesting about the lizards here, because I was like, why are these lizards here? It took me a while to figure it out. But apparently in the Bible, which there was another thing related to the Bible in this house as well. And this could not be about that, but it's just a guess, is that lizards are used in the Bible to show things that aren't clean or holy. I looked that up on the internet, so I could be wrong, but that's I feel like that would make sense in this scene, especially because they're in a club. He's about to do something not clean or holy, and it could be the start of maybe like he just feels like he's giving into his temptations. He's doing bad things. He's feeling just really bad. Moving forward in the room, right on your left is a window that shows a city lit in red tones with an enlarged, bandaged Weeknd appearing every couple of seconds through a screen. This actually is a reference to the In Your Eyes Vivo music video, where it almost starts off where after Kenny G does his thing, the Weeknd first pops into the frame with his head, doing that same exact motion in the video. So that's clearly what it was representing in some way. As you start walking through the room, there is a dancer hidden with the mannequins that will jump out on your left. Further down the room, still on your left, an area for the club's DJ is set up with two speakers. The DJ is shown through a large screen that displays their shadow, the vibrations of the music playing in the room, and clouds of blood. A neon sign of the Weeknd sunglasses can be seen above this screen. Next to the DJ area is the Weeknd himself, dressed in his sunglasses and red suit, who can be seen watching a dancing woman dressed in a sparkly gray suit. They're both on an elevated platform that is in front of another window, similar to the one we saw at the beginning of the room. As your eyes are fixating on them, a dancing scare actor dressed in similar clothes as the mannequins pops out on your right. They give you a good scare. I remember my first time going through this. That was the first time I noticed an actor. That was the first time in a year practically, or 2 years, where an actor actually got close to me, and I was like, "Whoa, this is insane!" Because that was my first house. So that's a scene I remember vividly. On the stage that the Weeknd is on, he starts walking up towards the woman. As he does this, the music, the In Your Eyes music, starts becoming a little distorted. It gets slower and lower in pitch, making the lyrics very difficult to understand. He then slits the dancer's throat, causing the blood from her wound to spill out all over you through water spray. It's not really blood, it's just a water spray. And you then escape this room through a red curtain. Now, this is the first official scene that has scares in it that, you had the opener. I'd say this is really the big scene that starts off the house besides the little intro. So how do we feel about this scene?
I think when I saw this scene, it's the moment where I went, this is kind of what I envisioned to happen. And in a good way, I think there's a lot of houses that you expect something and you fully don't get it. And this, it showed me I was kind of going to get what I wanted and what I expected to happen. So it as kind of an introduction truly into the house itself, what you're really going to get. I thought it was great. It was fun. You got to see a Weeknd murdering right off the bat, which is always great.
Yeah, this one definitely is the scene is like, you know, borrowed lovingly straight from the music video with like
Mm-hmm.
the like you know, decapitated Weekend, right? Like it's like, so like you like it's definitely like, okay, so we're gonna start seeing some of these iconic scenes from from the music videos.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought this was like Duff said, like a great introduction for I feel like to a lot of people who like aren't super familiar with how the Weekend could be scary. You know, like how, you know, like who we're going into it, you know, going, I don't know how the Weekend would work, and going, oh, okay, this Weekend guy, he's evil. He's killing. But I thought a lot of the symbols in this first room were like particularly interesting. Like you got the alcohol, you got the hookah, so you representing like temptations, right? Alcoholism and hookah for drugs, and you have, I mean, almost the Weekend's internal temptation to hurt whoever he's with, because I feel like that's a theme in like a lot of his albums that I've been listening to. You know more than me, Duff. But he tends to get with the person and then cheat on them, and or hurt them in a way. So I figured like that's what this was sort of symbolizing. Like, oh, he was with someone and then he hurt them real bad because that's just what he does.
Yeah.
Like the lyrics going like, in your eyes I see there's something burning inside you, oh inside you. It's like it's this innate, I don't know, like whatever it is that happened in his life that causes him to do these things to these people, it's something burning inside him, and it's just something he ends up doing to people he loves. And I feel like that's why this particular song choice was like sorry, not the song choice was in there because it was the In Your Eyes scene, but also like those lyrics were there to illustrate that purpose.
I think that's a pretty spot on interpretation of what we saw.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
and you're also seeing him look in, right? You're seeing on the window, you're seeing him look in from the outside, almost like so almost like the bandage Weekend sitting in the chair, you know, and he's watching all of this from like an outsider perspective and watching like what he did, you know, like what he's done to cause all these nightmares to happen. And I just think that is like so interesting and so unique. All right, does anyone have anything else to talk about this particular room, or should we move on to the hallways?
I think we can carry on.
All right. Scene 3, the After Hours Club hallways. The next area you enter is a hallway filled with a series of pipes above you, to your left and to your right, that all lead to the exit of the room. Multicolored lights are pulsating through them, similar to the wires connected to the Weekend's helmet in the first scene. These lights fill the room with color. The room itself isn't super colorful, but the lights are so bright in the pipes that it almost like, you know, like it illuminates the room a lot with all these different colors, and you see that as a theme in the upcoming rooms as well. The music playing here is another remix of In Your Eyes, but this time it's different. This time it's focusing on the parts of the song where the saxophone gets to shine, where, you know, where it has the saxophone solo, but it's just a remix version. The song's loop ends with a slower, more distorted version of it before it resets. And the way it sounds, which I never put my finger on it, but since my friend Alex was like, hey, maybe it's this, I'm like, oh, you might be right, is that the club itself, everything going on is happening above you, and you're listening it to almost like from a underground perspective. You know, it almost feels like you're way below what's happening above you. So moving forward, the first thing you see as you walk through this room is a glass case on your right that has been broken into. A woman pops out right beside it and swings at you, holding the item that was supposed to be in the case, which was an axe. This particular character is who the Weekend was chasing in the In Your Eyes music video. Further down on your right, a giant screen with an orange background shows the shadow of the Weekend hiding behind her with a knife. This shadow scene is inspired by the beginning of the In Your Eyes music video. The Vivo In Your Eyes music video, where like it starts off with Kenny G playing and it's his shadow. So like it seems like that's inspiration for that. Her shadow turns around just in time and beheads him. Moving forward, you can see metal chains hanging above you. The Weekend's beheaded body is standing by the wall to your left, and to the body's left, a scare actor of the girl pops out, who was the victim but now is the murderer, holding his head with glee. Walking through Sif of hanging chains, you enter the club's women's restroom, indicated by a sign on your left. So, how do we feel about this scene?
I thought it did the job kind of more for a transition style hallway. It was one of the weaker rooms overall to me. I think it was fun in the sense that like it's a very obvious like I know that scene, you know, like it was one of the times where it's like, yes, this was ripped directly. The imagery was ripped directly from a music video. You don't really have to think too much about how this came about. So you know, it's nice to have that, of course, but I think it also made for more of just kind of a quick, fine, but kind of I don't want to say forgettable because it's easy to remember it, but not as impactful scene as a lot of the others.
I don't know. I think this is one of the ones that I remember. Like I remember those tubes and like the like tech like those are the like the moments that I remember out of this house is because I've been on the record that where I kind of didn't get a bunch of scares out of this house. Like my timing was off on a lot of it. But I do remember the technical aspect of this house, and the tubes are something that I definitely like. The hallways and those two, like you know what I'm talking about, right? Like the
pipes,
the pipes, and like the technical aspect of them, of like they're glowing and stuff like that. That's what I remember. Like those elements of the house are what I remember the most is like the technical elements, just how much tech there was in this house.
I feel like I kind of forgot about this scene a lot, which sucks because like it got me. The girl always got me, no matter what. I would jump. She was just really loud, but like thinking about it, I would always talk about certain scenes, and this one was just one that I would be like, "Oh yeah, that was there." Not that it was bad. It was just one that, as like the one who does not know the music videos and could tell you what each scene is from or anything like that.
There was also inconsistency if that first character would be there or not. And I thought when it wasn't there, it really took away from the room a lot. And more often than not, I did not see that scare actor.
Yeah, this house.
Who was it? The girl?
Some of that. Yeah, the first girl.
The first one. Not the head holding.
On the right. The one that had the axe.
Yeah.
This house had a lot of inconsistencies, though, with staffing in certain spots.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I experienced that a lot.
Yeah. But so did Dead Man's, which were, you know, two of the top houses of the year.
True.
So. Yeah. I have to agree with Mike here that, like, my favorite part about this room, besides the music, because I really do think this remix is great of the saxophone scene. It was a great way to take in, like, arguably the most upbeat part of the song and make it a little, like, down to earth, a little more scary, a little more twisted. But the lights in the pipes were not only beautiful to look at and very well done, but they were also an example of, yep, we are walking to this is, like, obviously from the music video, but we were still in his nightmare because these colors have been following us throughout the house, you know? Like, these are the same colors that were in the tubes of his helmet, you know? And we see these colors later on as well. So while we are in this music video representation, we still are in his nightmare and we are still following that story. And in terms of my interpretation of, like, what's the story part of this besides just doing the music video and getting to the part where his head's cut off, is I really think it can either be taken two ways. I think it's like a mixture of both. One of them is that this was when whatever relationship he was in, like the one where he hurt someone really badly, this is when it ended. When it, with a lot of pun intended, when she cut it off. But also can be representation of the person he's with might not also be the best for him either. I mean, the In Your Eyes song itself focuses on both sides, how these people are not good for each other at all. Weeknd keeps hurting this person. This person keeps staying with him, even though she knows he's hurting him. You know, I know that she's being hurt by him, but she's staying. It's like a toxic relationship, like, you know, at its finest. So, like, with these rooms represented the song, I think it makes sense to have one room where the Weeknd's hurting her, and another room where she's hurting the Weeknd, and representing like how much his relationships have hurt him, how much he screwed up his relationships, sort of those types of themes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
And moving on to the woman's restroom, you push away white curtains and you find that the restroom itself has been taken over by the plastic surgery nurses from the Too Late music video. That's I don't know their names. That's just what they're referred to on the wiki, so I'm going to call them that. Originally, this and the following room would play parts of the Save Your Tears song. Like I mentioned before, it was the I Don't Know Why I Run Away over and over again on a constant loop. Later in the event, this changed to, and Duff can back me up on this because I did like I had a theory and then I showed Duff, and I know you agree with me, that it's a remix version of Sacrifice, and while not confirmed, it seems like the beat of Too Late was mixed with the music of Sacrifice as well to create like a nightmares version of the song.
Yeah, it's like the bass line of Too Late.
Mm-hmm. And it's very fitting because these characters in here are from Too Late, the plastic surgery nurses.
Yeah.
This bathroom itself is filled with white curtains stained with blood. It's also covered with what appears to be fat all around the room. Right as you enter, you see a plastic surgery nurse in the middle of the room performing liposuction to a mannequin that is laying on a table. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think I ever realized it was liposuction until I went to the Hollywood House. And I'm like, oh, that's what that was.
Really?
Like I never put two and two
How did you
together.
not catch that in ours? It's doing the same
I don't
thing.
know why. I always just viewed it as like, oh, they're like doing just normal plastic surgery. I didn't like immediately.
That is normal plastic surgery.
Yeah.
That is normal.
That's
But
probably
I
the
was
most
thinking
popular
like
plastic
face
surgery.
shit,
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it was
No,
very,
yeah, that's a tummy tuck for sure.
involved.
Jonathan,
Yeah.
you catch everything. I'm amazed that you didn't catch this one and all of us did.
Wow.
See, I'm like I admit what I don't catch. But I just like I never paid too much attention to it. I just thought it was just like, oh, disgusting things are happening, and I didn't like put two together. Like, oh, that's fat over the wall. That's not just guts. Like that's actual fat. I'm like, oh yeah. I think Hollywood. We'll talk about later. Did this scene like this particular moment a lot better. But before we get to that, through her facial expressions, the mannequin. You can tell the mannequin is in agony. Unpleasant sounds of the procedure fill the room. Behind them, you can see 3 bathroom stalls. The star at the far end is open, pulsating with color that is synced with the music. Similar colors that have been in all the tubes, following the room itself. This color fills the room. On the right of the room are 3 sinks, each with mirrors above them, an open cabinet with various operating equipment, and jars of guts and fat. Fun fact, the hidden HHN 31 spider in this room was located on a shelf in this area of the room. Turning left to exit, another nurse would pop out at you from the inside of a stall. You then walk through bloody curtains to enter the next room. So I feel like these next 2 rooms are like part 1 and part 2. How do we feel about part 1 of the surgery room?
I actually think this is one of the more memorable scenes. How it transitions pretty quickly into this grotesque setting that you're going to get for a bit throughout this house. It's not going to be the first time you get anything like this. We'll get to that soon. So I think I thought it was very memorable for that. And I thought to what the Weeknd is trying to portray, I think this is spot on.
Yeah, I mean, completely agree. Like this relates completely with the lyric in Too Late that goes like, "LA girls all look the same. They I can't recognize the same work done on their face. I can't criticize.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's somewhat, what he believes somewhat fake. Some surgery, something, like the plastic surgery, girls themselves to look better. To like a constant. I'd assume he thinks like a constant need to be perfect, which is a need the Weeknd like seems to have as well."
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of mental health stuff alluded to both in like in his relationships and in his music videos. This is also like alluding to that too. A lot of the desirable to like have body dysmorphia type of thing that has gotten into our to our culture for sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll move on before talking about like the overall like themes. We're going to move to the male restroom, part 1, part 2. This is the male restroom. And after spotting a male restroom sign on your left, you walk through more white curtains to enter a bathroom that has been filled with graffiti. Certain words of note that have been written on the walls are perfection, hurt, inside, and XXX. Uh, Multiple sinks and mirrors were featured on the right of the room. One of those mirrors was broken. That's a tool that will help us later. On the left of the room, a nurse, the Weeknd's head and a beheaded body with multiple limbs sticking out of it can be seen in front of the bathroom stalls. One of those limbs is, here we go, holding a mirror in front of what was supposed to be the body's head. In a swift motion, the nurse sticks the disembodied head of the Weeknd on the corpse, resulting in some really nasty sounds. She has him look into the mirror, and you can see the shards of the broken glass from the broken mirror in the background piercing one of the Weeknd's new hands. In the stalls behind them, body parts can be seen, multiple body parts. There's a ton of guts and body parts in there. Moving towards the exit, another disembodied corpse behind a huge pile of disgusting guts and body parts on your left comes to life, shaking around and scaring you. Remember, that was a relatively new addition that wasn't there in the beginning. I remember like noticing later in the event, like, oh, that's a new scare.
It wasn't consistent either.
Yeah, it was not.
It was definitely meant to be there the whole time. It just it took a while to actually show up.
I think I got it once.
Above the exit of the room, you see a mini slot machine game similar to what was seen in Icons Captured, with the label jackpot on top of it. The result of the game is a row of 3 frogs. Not yet. I'll get to that joke later. Other symbols on the game include, and this is all taken from the wiki, so thank you, wiki, for all of this information. The exit sign being a reference to the victim in the In Your Eyes club. The female dancers being a reference to the female restroom scene. The male dancers being a reference to the male restroom scene. The Queen card having the plastic surgery girl on it as a reference to the plastic surgery girls. And the microphone and martini glass being a reference to the Save Your Tears club scene that we'll get to later. As you are paying attention to that slot machine, a nurse pops out on your right and makes a loud, high-pitched scream. You exit the room through thin, red curtains. So we had the women's restroom. We now have the men's restroom. And what do we think of this scene?
I can tell you that final scream is ingrained into my brain forever. It's a very specific sound, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I love this scene.
Same.
It was iconic, and I love that final nurse. Got me every fucking night.
It was gnarly. This scene was like, if all the scenes that pop out of me, this is like the most HHN of them. Right? This like really gross and grotesque scene. I think it's good. I like it.
And well, not Orlando. He's so hot.
Oh my god!
That's one of the best triggers I've ever heard.
It went on forever and ever.
Constant loop, never stopped.
Ours was a lot darker too.
Yeah, definitely. I think, not to give it all away, I think that's kind of a trend between the two houses. Is the Hollywood house was kind of light, bright.
Right.
It was very bright, and I was like, "What? Why? It's such a dark, toned house. It's just everything's so bright."
Very white.
And I understand in certain rooms, I get that, right? But then there should be a contrast when you get to the other rooms, if you're going to do that. But everything just felt so bright. I don't get it.
And it was in a soundstage where they can control the lighting. Oh, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, thinking of like the story of these two rooms though, because I was kind of like, obviously the first room you got a lot of perfection, all those themes we talked about before. This one, you got that as well, the vanity aspect of like having to look at yourself, and trying to let, someone trying to perfect you, change you, you trying to change yourself, stuff like that. The bathrooms itself being hints of probably like, like XXX, hurt perfection. Maybe he's going and doing things with other people, either cheating on people or just having mindless flings to try to feel better about himself. And the song itself that's chosen, which is Sacrifice. It is has remix of Too Late, but the main lyrics are Sacrifice. It has like the main loop, and the one that was represented in both Orlando and Hollywood were like, "Oh baby, I hope you know that I tried, like, and I don't want to sacrifice." Like, it was almost him looking at himself like, I can't avoid my demons, I can't avoid being with who I consider to be fake people. I can't avoid trying to keep making myself go to perfection. I can't avoid thinking about like what I look like to the public, stuff like that. And he's hurt about it. He's hurt on the inside, but yet on the outside, he wants to look as good as he can. And yet he can't stop giving into his temptations. And I figured like that's what like the theme of these rooms are, which sort of like really elevates what I think the next room is going to be. Well, not what I think. We are going to.
No, you just think? Not too sure.
I just think. I think I know what next room we're in. I stopped writing here. There's no more after this.
Have a good night, everyone. See you in the streets.
We'll have part 2 next week.
Jesus. That one's 3 hours. Okay.
Without Jess.
Come on, you're enjoying this a little bit.
No, this is great.
This is great. Yeah.
I'm having a great time. Every time you bring up a song, I'm like, oh yeah, that was at WrestleMania. I you know what I actually want? I want Abel to do what Bad Bunny has been doing, and I want him to get in the ring now that he's forced me to listen to his song so much.
Watch his little ass get tossed around. It'd be great.
I would love that. That's what I want. That to come full circle. I want to cheer for him at WrestleMania.
What if he like steals Rhea Ripley and that's his girl now?
We're gonna have a Canadian brawl. We're gonna have like a match set in
a Canadian Destroyer is a move. That could be his signature move.
The Canadian street brawl where they're just all really nice to each other.
They don't hold the door for each other. That's
Hey.
You didn't even offer me the parking spot, eh?
This is my show now, Jonathan.
Yeah, go for it.
This has just turned into us fantasizing about WWE matches with celebrities.
I will always find a way to get this in there.
How much would you enjoy watching Abel get tossed off the top of a cell?
It would be so fucking fun.
My God.
Duff is a Hell in a Cell guy now. I love
now,
it.
Oh, really?
Always.
I'm sorry.
I never
always,
lost
I
that about me.
It makes a lot of sense.
I may have stopped watching wrestling, but if I saw Hell in the Cell clips on Twitter, I would sit there and watch that clip.
You're the reason the 365 feed is all wrestling, not me. You blame me, but it's you.
No, it's definitely you, but okay.
I mean, I'm obsessed with Danhausen now, so we're going to talk about Danhausen.
Fine.
Jonathan, what's the next room?
Yeah. All right. The
show.
next room is the After Hours Casino. You are now, after walking through the area, you are now immersed in a room that was taken right from the Weeknd Super Bowl performance. I think this was a room that we were all like, that I was like, I wanted to see, but I wasn't like completely expecting it. And then we entered, I'm like, oh my God. All right. This was like the big wow moment for me. Like, oh, they just recreated it. Like, I get it's not that hard to do, but like, oh my God, like, this is great. That everyone should know from like the multiple memes that were made after the Super Bowl, his Super Bowl performance of him just like looking into the camera really closely and walking through this room. The room itself is the color of gold, and it's filled with mirrors and lights that seem to go on forever. It's funny, they use like the same mirror tactic, at least it looks like it, that they use in the Super Bowl itself, where like the mirrors look like they went on forever. Like if you looked at both back to back, they look like it's a similar effect. The music in this part of the room was a remixed version of Blinding Lights, but we'll get to that in a second when we get to the next part of the room where it's more important. Giant words and arrows can be seen here, all lit up with lights. The words featured are touch, greed, and lust. On your left, a bandaged Weeknd pops out at you with a knife, this time dressed in his sparkly red Super Bowl outfit. And before we even enter the second part, because the second part is completely different than the first part of this like room, how do we feel about like this Super Bowl room of you entering that iconic imagery from the Weeknd?
I mean, it had to happen, right? It had to happen. And
even I knew that.
I thought Orlando executed it perfectly, drilled it, nailed it, loved it. Was great. It felt like a maze at points. The way they utilized the music and the lights actually made sense. And it had a couple scares in there. What more can you ask for?
Yeah.
Disorienting too. It was definitely it was way more disorienting than I expected it to be. Like, because usually when this type of stuff has happened before, it's like pretty straightforward, where there's like a cast member just being like, this way, this way, this way. No, it was a disorienting. I liked it.
Yeah.
It really helps you almost feel like you were the Weeknd walking in that scene, because it's hard not to, right? Like when you're in that setting, you're kind of just like, I kind of want to move my like head like he did in that meme, just to be like, I was there, I did it. Like I'm in this setting, it's fun. What's also fun is that they took a scene that could have easily just been, it's the scene because you wanted to see it. It's an IP and you like the scene from this IP, so whatever. But they also added it into the story a bit, because the words in the area itself, touch, greed, and lust, are obviously like his sins, his temptations, his what happens when you get all this fame, you like start you start having the money and ability to give into these things, so it's almost like we'll talk about in the next room too. There's almost like you're getting famous and you think it's all great, and you're like, man, look at all this money and great, like I love this. But in the end, it's actually giving you like a lot of internal problems as well.
I do wish, I have a controversial opinion about this room. I wish there was one more scare actor in the middle.
Yeah.
Because there was one in the beginning, and then I will say the room did a very good job of like building anticipation, like you were expecting somebody and kind of getting lost in the maze aspect of it. But I kind of wish there would have been someone, and that's where I do think Hollywood, it wasn't better, it just might have been scarier because of that. There were mannequins as well as people popping out, but it definitely wasn't better.
I think that shows the unfortunate aspect of using like a time-based like music and lighting effect, right? Where like for it to fully work, you need to walk in at the right moment because you want to hear the song build. Then they do the bass drops and the lights start flashing, and then it fully goes into it. You don't catch it at the right time, and it can feel a little empty, right?
Yeah.
If you get it right, though, it's building up perfectly. But I get what you mean. Because unfortunately, it's impossible to make everyone get it the way they're supposed to.
Yeah. And actually, that leads us right into like the second half of this room, because this actor that I'm about to talk about seems like after a certain point, the event just was never there anymore. Like it was taken out. And this is exiting the main Super Bowl part of the room with all the icon like all the stuff that you know and love. You enter a very classic, well, sort of classic mirror maze where it's just mirrors, but they're all filled with white light, and the mirrors look like they go on forever. The lights look like they go on forever. It's a very, very cool effect. And now let's talk about the music. Like you said, it starts off building and building. It's an instrumental sort of remix version of Blinding Lights. It has a long and dramatic buildup, and then it goes like once it gets to a certain point, it goes and the lights flash with it, and they literally blind you. You are like, they are intense strobes, and you are just like, you are blinded for at least a good second. And once this buildup is over, the lights pulsate and the lights sync with the music itself. And the song that plays is not just a normal Blinding Lights lyric, but it's actually Sin City's Cold and Empty, sung to the tune of the main chorus over and over and over again. Once again, reinforcing that theme of, like, look at all this greatness, like all this fame, isn't it great? But in the end, it just makes you cold and empty inside. And it's sort of a good transition to the next scene as well. This was a scare that ended up being cut later in the event, but near the end of this room, another bandage Weeknd would pop out on your right before you exit through black curtains. And yeah, I think we talked enough about the mirror section of it.
Yeah, we got the gist of our opinions.
Yeah. So let's move on to scene 7, the After Hours Hotel. You enter a short transition hallway. The walls are blue and it's very dark and hard to see until another bandage Weeknd jumps out at you from behind a curtain on the left. With that scare trigger, a strobe light flashes, revealing hidden skulls in the wallpaper and like lightning. You then pass through another curtain to enter the main section of the After Hours Hotel. This room is heavily inspired by the Save Your Tears music video. Here you can see multiple guests wearing crazy, creepy masks, just as the guests did in the music video, sitting at tables. They are watching the Weeknd perform the song Save Your Tears. Unlike the other songs, the way this one is remixed, at least in the beginning, is it's more upbeat than the original song. It's almost a more fun version of Save Your Tears in a weird way, at least the way it starts. The lighting behind him when he's singing this is colorful, staying aligned with the colors that have been present throughout the house. Other sources of light in the room are moving with the music as well, including the balls of light on each table, the candles behind the Weeknd, and the chandeliers hanging above you. The Weeknd's face looks off, as if he's not even human anymore. His eyes are bulging out and his tongue can't stay in his mouth. And one of his hands, he's holding a frog. Once he's done singing, he licks the frog, exactly from the Heartless music video, and the lights start turning on and off. The music becomes distorted, and the sounds of horrific non-human screams and growls can be heard. Hidden faces appear in the back of the room, lightning shines on the room's supports, and a snake that surrounds the top of the room becomes visible. Two of the mannequins here were not mannequins at all, and come to life when the song stops. They unmask themselves, revealing hideous, piranha-like faces underneath. To escape the madness, you head towards the next room.
Jess, I have a suggestion for a sound clip. We need Jonathan saying, "He's holding the frog." The delivery on that was phenomenal.
He's holding the frog.
Did the Weeknd lick the frog, Jonathan, or did I lick the frog?
A little bit of both.
I mean,
We all lick the frog.
Yeah.
Because goddamn, did that end up in my face one night?
Frog Lickers Anonymous.
Anchor eater, frog licker. It's
You
very
need to
like
stop putting
what was-
HHN things in your mouth, Jess. It's not sanitary.
not- It's not
Anchors,
me.
frogs.
It's Abel. It is not me. That motherfucker. Instead of whatever the smoking a joint with him or whatever, he put a frog in my mouth.
This will make you feel better. Here's this frog.
Ugh.
Talk about iconic scenes.
Yeah.
This is the one that
I
I
guess.
remember. I remember the Weeknd with the giant tongue. Like, that's the main thing when I think about this house. I think of that giant ass tongue.
It was goofy as fuck, but it was also great.
It was
That's
very
also a
simple.
sound clip I want. Just Mike saying, I think about that giant ass tongue.
What that tongue do?
Hey.
He licked a frog.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
He licked a frog. That's what it did.
But I think also coming into this room, like before you turn the corner, that is one of the best like hidden scares.
Yeah.
Possibly
Oh, yeah.
at HHN 31. So it just kind of sets you up nicely for this room. You know, if you get scared there, you're going to come in watching your back a bit. And I think this room's meant to do that with all these mannequins / real person sitting there.
I also like the wallpaper scare, the character. That is one that I actually got. I don't even know what I'm talking about, where like this character's like dressed to look just like the wallpaper when you're leaving this room?
We're not there yet.
that's
but
technically the next
Oh, we're
room.
not.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
is it technically in the
Yes,
next
it
room?
is.
Oh, I thought it was
No.
the same room.
we're gonna get there very soon, though, for sure. So, like, here's a question. I know we were all expecting this part of the music video to be in the house. I think like everyone was like, yeah, this has to be in it. Like, this is one of his most iconic music videos from After Hours itself. Did we like the execution of it? Do we think they did it in the way we were expecting them to, or like in a better way?
Expecting? No, absolutely not. But I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah.
But also, I don't know. I had a specific expectation for how that would be done. So
I had no expectations for this whole house. That's just like me being honest, not me being like bitchy about it. I didn't really know much. I had just heard his songs before.
And you ended up liking it.
Yeah, I really did. Not like all of this whole bit about me hating it. I genuinely really enjoyed this house. I just need a break.
you've had it. We're good.
No, I haven't. Because we've been talking about this fucking episode for a month.
Okay, but you didn't even read it, so I don't want to hear it.
Whatever. I appreciate Jonathan's work.
Yay, thank you. But like, I think this might be one of the most thematically rich scenes of the entire house, because like, first of all, you got him singing and doing like a silly dance. Like, it's not silly, but the Weeknd's not really known for his dancing, but also like it feels intentionally a little bit more silly than usual because the music behind it is a lot more upbeat than Save Your Tears usually is. And it's almost like he's doing this bit, right? Like he's singing his music and, like entertaining people who will never understand how he got to the point where he needed to write those songs, like emotionally. Like the song itself, listen to it. It is very sad, very dark. It is just a very depressing situation. But the way he's performing it in the house, he's like, doing like, he's having fun, he's like, look at me, whatever. And it's almost like these people watching him, these piranhas, these people that are never going to really understand what happened to him. Like he's just putting a performance for them, but they're never going to understand how he got to that. And I'm sure that hurts. I'm sure that hurts for him, how like many people listen to Save Your Tears and go like, that's a bop. I love that. But you listen to lyrics, it's like, oh my God, that's a little depressing. So you got that aspect, right? And then also you got him licking the frog, giving in to temptation, which is, drugs, because frogs, drugs, Kermit. And then
there it is.
Kermit equals, just like Weeknd equals drugs, Kermit equals drugs.
Dawn equals lightning bolt. You and Duff are cut from the same fucking cloth.
Okay, relax.
But as it happens and have the light flash, you see a snake appear on the top, and at first you're like, why is there a snake there? What? But then one of my friends pointed out to me, like, Adam and Eve, the snake is temptation. I'm like, oh crap, that makes so much sense. Because like he always, like, in his music videos, he tends to, like, I mean, not in his music, he tends to go against religion, but he also like does have moments where he does talk about, like, he does get into some religious imagery, and I'm sure that was this,
Well, I think,
like,
I mean, if you, this is getting probably too much into the Weeknd, but I mean, he clearly had a religious growing up, of sorts, that he's,
like some of us have,
which he's turned his back on. So I think that's how he reflects that guilt still comes from what he was raised with, So I think that's why you get a lot of that religious imagery, specifically of in the wrong way,
Yeah, there's it talks about a lot of trauma in like with his relationships and his religious trauma. This is definitely talking about some of his religious trauma that he's dealt with, for sure. That's a controversial term for some people, but it's a real thing.
Yeah, and just going one more time into like the lyrics that are specifically chosen. There is like, I saw you dancing in a crowded room. You look so happy when I'm not with you. And then it was, I'm trying to think of the other one. They were both like depressing, and they were both involving loving someone else and it not being reciprocated anymore, that relationship being cut off. And that also like goes into my interpretation of the house, how this is not only themes of the Weeknd, but themes of like him going through a breakup, him dealing with relationship trauma. And I mean, that's kind of what After Hours is. A good chunk of it's all about. So it makes sense that those themes would go into it. And once again, saying these very deep and sad things and having people just eat it up for entertainment. I'm sure like the money's great. I'm sure he likes the fame and everything, but I'm also sure part of him, I mean, I assume this is interpreting that part of him's like, this feels weird. This feels really weird that people are eating up my pain and like for entertainment, and I mean, moving forward from this room, let's go over here. We're going to get to the hotel hallways where it's still Save Your Tears. The chorus of this hallway is the chorus of Save Your Tears, and it fills the hallway. In fact, the lights pulsate to it, creating a very disorienting environment. You see guest rooms on your left and right as you make your way towards the exit. The walls of the hallway and the floor of the hallway start morphing into an orange and blue pattern. The first scare in this hallway comes from red curtains on your left. You hear something moving behind them, and then two, like, you don't really see what they are. The wiki says they're frog-like arms, but really it's just a curtain that comes out at you. And they basically, these two arms behind this curtain reach out at you. I have a little story to talk about with this particular scene. I don't know if any of you experienced this, but it was like on the only night, or one of the only nights I just like went with my brother, and it was just like me and him, and we went through this house. I don't know what it was that day, but that scare, like it usually didn't get me. It kind of just came out a little bit, and it's like, oh, that's fun. That day, that scare actor, I don't know what it was, but he just like, they just like threw the curtains at me, like all the way. I almost felt them touch me, and I jumped back so fucking hard. I'm like, what the hell? It's never done that before. And after that day, I've never saw it do that again. Like, it was only one day only. Whoever that scare actor was just like decided to do that on that particular day. Did you guys happen to experience that?
Yes, my sister got decked in the face with a curtain.
Yes.
Like, absolutely wrecked. I remember specifically. I don't know what day, but I just remember hearing her scream. And she like hit the floor, and I was like, what's wrong? She's like, I got wrecked by a curtain. And I did not know that scare was there, to be honest.
Oh, really?
And I think that was the only time I had noticed it.
Not knowing scares were there in this house really went hand in hand for you.
Oops.
Yeah, like when that worked, that was one of my favorite scares in the entire event, because even when I knew it was coming again, like it still came all the way out, and I just like, it destroyed me. When things get close to me, like I don't like when things get close to me. That's when I jump. That's what gets me.
This is the one scare that I did get in this house quite a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it was very frequent, to be honest. I don't think I ever really didn't see it for the most part.
Yeah.
We're talking about the wallpaper curtain
No.
right?
The curtain scare. Just curtain.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We're almost there.
I want to talk about the wallpaper.
Okay.
Talk about everything.
Let's speed run to the curtain. Not to the curtain, the wallpaper. You hear something moving behind the... Oh, we already did that. On your right, a door with orange and blue patterns covering it, which sort of hides it in the wall, opens up, revealing the Weeknd, who is turning into a frog-human hybrid. He's turning into his favorite character. Walking through the white curtains, you see a wall in front of you. This is for you, Mike, that has the same orange and blue pattern. A scare actor in a morph suit that has camouflaged into the wall, rips off of it, and scares you before you turn left to exit the hotel.
Yay!
Yes.
The one scare that I would get in this house.
There it is.
That was the commentary we were waiting for the whole time? That's it?
I liked it, Mike.
I thought I was going to get a whole rant about it.
It was cool.
That one was very consistent for me too, though. That one.
Was cool.
It was consistent. And I thought the ripping sound trigger was a lot of fun with the scare.
Oh, yeah.
And it wrecked me the first time. I did.
Mm.
If you're catching a trend, and when it comes to noticing like that our things are or patterns and things like that, like depth perception. I'm bad at that type of stuff. And this would wreck me when like the very first time I did not realize that there was a person there.
Oh yeah, the strobes there too. So like even when it reached out, like you thought it was closer than it was too. Like that was a really good scare. But like I really love this. What is a transition room, but it's a very important transition room because it shows him he just licked the frog. Now he's giving into his temptations even more, giving into drug abuse. I really think that's the main theme of this room is the frog represents the drugs. And now he's being consumed by the drugs. I mean, kind of like, like Faith, where that's kind of the whole point. He's like taking a lot of drugs and possibly overdosing at the end of the song. So like, this is that portion. In addition to, I'd assume the hotel rooms represent him just like going and once again having mindless sex with a bunch of other people, trying to fill the hole in his heart that he can't. And the room walls transforming is another way to put you in the mind of, like you are also like going with him, experiencing this journey of abuse and transformation. And the song itself, I really think, while Heartless did work in Hollywood, because Hollywood had a similar scene and they used the Heartless the Heartless where it went like, I lost my heart and my mind over and over and over again, which I think worked a lot. This one focused on strobes and really diving into the savior tears for another day, just like over and over and over again. And I think that works very well thematically because that's what he's trying to do. Like, give into your temptation so you stop crying, like just try to forget why you're sad and do other things, to try to fill the void. But also I think that chorus is so iconic and so important that you kind of had to have it in a Weeknd house. And I think the way I watched the music video originally. I'm like, they could do that song and then have the boom, 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 boom and use that as strobes. And that's kind of what they did here a little bit. I think it works. And I think if I'm going to call any room a party room, I always like had a fun like time in this one because I just think the music was really fun and added to the scares as well when they did like pop out. You're already energized and you're like, oh, frog.
There's another trigger, Jess. Get a timestamp.
I think that's a better one, honestly.
I do too.
Listen, these frogs were scary.
There's another one.
They were very scary.
We just have a frog soundboard at this point.
Just Johnson saying frog in a million different ways. Frog, 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 frog.
That'll be episode 200, the Frog Diaries.
Jonathan hosts the Frog Chronicles.
Oh god! See, this is what I get for making a whole House Dissection. Just this.
This is what you
know
get.
What gets dissected?
Frogs. Ribbit.
Ribbit.
All right.
Oh my god.
Move on.
All right. So let's move on. You now you have left the hotel, right? So now we're entering scene 9, which is the After Hours station, which is taken right from or inspired by the After Hours short film, where it didn't really have it wasn't really a song, like a short film that had was a music video. It had elements of his songs sprinkled in it, but it was more just like a story of once again him showing the emptiness and the performative, and then showing how sad he was in walking through this subway before he got taken by darkness. But that's not really relevant right now. Let's just talk about the house itself. You have entered the After Hours station, represented by the flashing sign above you with the same name. The music playing in this station is a nightmarish version of Take My Breath. It was really nightmarish. It took, it had Take My Breath, and then it was very faint, and it sort of stopped for a little bit, and then it continued. It was an interesting remix for sure. Wasn't my favorite, but it worked. I think it worked well enough. Let me see this. You see a sign on your You see a sign on your left that shows all the different subway routes in this. I'm forgetting one thing. Originally, this was also In Your Eyes. This was the song In Your Eyes before it got changed to Take My Breath. So that's our last change of songs. All right, now let's move forward. You see a sign on your left that shows you all the different subway routes in this nightmare world. And they are all named after different albums and songs from the Weeknd's library. These routes jump off the sign and bleed into the walls, leading you further inside of the after-hour station. Walking through an elevator, a frog-like arm reaches down to grab you. Looking up, you can see that frog Weeknd is watching you. And Jesus Christ, that got me every time it came for me. That was a really good scare. I think there was two scares that came down at you that year. It was Descendants and the frog. And I think that one was definitely more effective because you really couldn't see it. Descendants, you could see that scare ahead of you if you were had wrong timing. With that one, it was hidden enough that you usually I feel like you ended up getting that one more, or not catching it off guard more.
And I think
it did.
I was going to say, you have a pretty good story of how it happened too.
Oh yeah, I was like, everyone was talking about some arm. They were like, the arm in the Weeknd, and I was like, what arm in the Weeknd? And then we're walking through, and I fall. I'm done. Goodbye. I'm dead. R.I.P. Jess. It was fun knowing her, and I don't think I could finish the rest of the house at that point.
It was great.
The frog's too powerful.
Yeah, Duff got to witness
the
it.
frog heard us talking literally in the room before. You're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Turns the corner.
I had no
smack.
idea. He might as well have taken my head off.
Holy shit.
I love that bitch. All the frogs in this house. I really did love them.
They were I gotta be careful what I say so they don't turn into more sound bites.
No, give us sound bites, please.
Looking up, I already did that one. After you make it past the elevator, you reach the subway platform. However, you aren't where you were supposed to be. Instead, you realize that you made it onto the subway tracks. Oopsie. Right on your left is a sign that says...
There's another one.
I think that was the first serious delivery of Oopsie 365 has ever had.
I was meant to be silly. That wasn't meant to be serious.
But it was serious.
God damn it.
Please ignore us.
Right on your left, I shall. Right on your left is a sign that says no smoking. And ironically, the fog being pumped in that room is coming from right below it. I thought that was a really funny little thing there. Turning right, you see an elevated platform. It's where people are supposed to stand when they wait for the subway. You are on the tracks. The walls on its side have been graffitied with words such as After Hours, Blinding Lights, and XO in multiple colors. I think we can all figure out why those words are there. This wall also has a sign of the subway routes and a trash can shoved into its left corner. All of a sudden, God damn it, the Weeknd frog returns, still wearing his sparkly red outfit from the Super Bowl, but this time he is on stilts and he has fully transformed and fully embraced his love of Kermit the Frog. He lunges at you with his long arms and walks down the elevated platform. This is to distract you before another Weeknd frog pops out at you from a boo hole on your left. And then just when you think you are safe after walking through some black sif, the same frog pops out at another boo hole on your left to scare you again. The subway routes that have been following you have mostly disappeared, with only the red line representing the after-hour station remaining. It leads you forward. You see some garbage boxes and bottles in the left corner of the room. We're not done with this room yet, but this is a big portion of it. How do we feel about this section?
So the Stilts character was infrequent. Of course, it's a Stilts character in a house. It's going to happen. They're going to be missing sometimes. Yeah. And the timing could be off because they kind of got to fully go behind a wall and then run back around. So it could be easy to miss them even if they were there potentially. But when this room was firing, oh man, it was so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. This has to be my favorite room of the house just because of the intense scares.
Pretty sure when I walked through it with you, this room, all you heard from Jonathan was "fuck, fuck, fuck? The frogs just
That's a really
loved
good
him.
Jonathan impression.
They love me in a yep. They yeah. I once again being careful. It was intense. It was very scary.
Yeah.
The one on the stilts. Whenever once again when this frog was there, and I feel like usually did come towards me. It was moving. Like usually stilts, in houses just kind of walk forward and then walk back. This one would almost feel like it's jumping, moving side to side, banging the arms on the rail, following me to the room because saw how scared I was. I'm just like, go away. It was very scary. And then the other frog would the one in the boo hole would see that I'm terrified from the stilt frog. And then he would come towards me and hit me in both boo holes usually. And I would just be out of that room dead. I wouldn't survive.
I'm sorry.
What
I didn't
No,
mean
Jess.
to
I'm laughing.
Oh crap! Did I? Fuck.
I'm sorry.
I always say when I get hit in both people.
It scared me twice. That's what I was afraid.
Jonathan.
What did I say? I said it.
Hit you in both boo holes.
Oh god damn it! That's not what I meant.
I was trying so hard not to laugh.
Welcome to the most childish podcast that exists.
Oh, if they have listened to any of our episodes, they
yes.
are fully prepared.
Duff, I believe you made a diesel match joke.
Yeah, on the one
We can
episode I
laugh
missed.
about it.
I was just saying what we are. It's true. I'm not immune from that. I'm maybe the biggest part of that, to be honest.
No, but Jonathan, to try to bring this back to the Weeknd, I know what you mean.
Yes.
Anytime
okay.
I would walk through that room, they both would team up against me. And there's one time I remember I was going through with my sister, and I'm pretty sure Duff was there too. And we were like, "Oh, where's the frog?" Because the stilt frog was very inconsistent. And we were like, "Oh, I guess he's not here." And we got maybe halfway, and that bitch started sprinting. He was like, "Guess who's not here now, motherfucker?" And then the other one on the left was like, "Hey." And then I remember running, and there was really nowhere to go, so did not end well for me.
It was I do think overall 31 kind of lacked in scares for me. But Legends and this house, particularly this scene in this house, were the intense parts. These were the areas where I almost always got scared, very consistently. Even if the stilt wasn't there, the other frog managed to get me. This was one of the scariest parts of 31 for me, for sure. Even if it was silly. And it was Weeknd as a frog wearing a Super Bowl outfit.
I don't see what's silly about it. It's pretty serious.
I guess it is about drug abuse and sadness.
I was kidding. No,
but...
it's very silly, Jonathan. It is very silly.
I mean, I was continuing with the joke that
no,
you were
we could have stopped it. It's okay.
But it needed to go
no.
on. No, it didn't.
Where do we go next, Jonathan?
Let's wrap it up. Wrap it up, boys.
All right. So, turning right, you walk through black meat locker curtains. You suddenly, get this, you get blinded by white lights and hear something honking.
Jail. Immediate jail. Jonathan, you're in timeout.
I deserve that. Once you get a hold of your surroundings, you realize a giant subway train that has a W on its front has popped out from the wall, and it's coming at you. The Weeknd's nightmare ends how most do. Sudden death. You turn left to enter one more transition hallway. On your left, you see a trash can filled with garbage. On your right, you see empty cans of alcohol. And yeah, that was, you died there. Or that's what it was implying, that the Weeknd died. Or you died, and almost like the end of the album itself, Weeknd did not make it through. How did we feel about that I guess that area of the of the subway coming at you and whatnot.
Oh, I loved it. One, like, we've had moving things at HHN that come at us. This subway was fucking big. This big ass bitch
was.
moving towards you. It's like, holy shit.
It was big.
Yeah. And it worked every night, unlike the fucking the
That
cart
did
in
absolutely nothing.
Heaven. That was much smaller, but yet was broken.
Not scary. Whereas the subway was very scary.
Yeah, and thematically, like, we said, like, ending the house, like, not ending the house, but ending the nightmare part of it like this, brings it back to the album, the ending of the album, but also brings it back to, like, man, he feels like all of this, like, everything that happens to him, and he's done regarding his relationship and his fame and his whatever, like, all these demons are too hard to handle, and in his nightmare, he doesn't handle them. He doesn't, he gives up, basically. And I think that's like it's just a really hard hitting theme that has been in other houses before, but I mean, like, this one, like, was, I mean, it I don't know, I don't know why I'm trying to prolong this. I liked it. It was a good theme. It was interesting in a haunted house setting. It was told well.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree.
All right, so the finale, scene 10. You find your way back to the nightmare extraction chamber, but the Weeknd has escaped. The TVs aren't in their proper places anymore, and some have even fallen to the floor. The wires connected to the helmet that is now located on the chair are flashing with white light and making constant electrical noises. Fog is coming from the chair, and the room is filled with strobe lights. The vents near the ceiling that used to be normal are now dripping blood, just like how they did in the Vivo performance of Faith. The music in the room is a remix version of Blinding Lights that plays the lyrics, "Ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust." Then you got the 3 hays. Hey, hey, hey. And you leave this room through white meat locker curtains. How do we feel about this? Entering the room we started with things not as they, seemed in the original room.
Absolutely loved it. I thought opening scene reprise was a great choice, and we kind of knew Blinding Lights would be the finale song. Like, we always figured that, and there's a little more after this, but like the way they executed it was not what I would have expected at all. But I loved it. It was just so much going on, sounds, the sparks, and the lights. It was great. Loved it.
Yeah, I love how they bookended the house with these scenes. I like when they do that, and I did like it in this as well, where you kind of get back to that opening room, but with a new spin on it for sure.
It really helps round out the story, taking you right back to the beginning. You're like, oh yeah, I was in a nightmare. If you might have forgot, like, I was in a nightmare. I was in a world that the Weeknd created, and now I'm out of it. And it. I'd hope it makes, it tells a lot of guests, and, that they might sort of understand a little bit of what's going on now that you have that, repeating setting,
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think it makes the story a lot more clear. Or maybe to most, at least.
And I'm going to talk about the themes and the lyrics in the next room, because I think it's the most important here. And you basically, after leaving this room, you enter a hallway with the same white wall tiles and strobes as the nightmare extraction chamber. You see that it is filled with bandaged mannequin Weeknds on your left and right. They are all dressed in white suits that have been stained with blood. You soon realize that some of these mannequins are real, as you get scared by 2 on your left and then 1 on your right. And they were usually really consistent, each slashing at you with their knives. They were incredibly consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought, like, these scares were really well done.
And this was like a very tight room too, so there wasn't much space. They were in your face pretty quick.
Oh yeah, I've gotten pinballed here before with, like, one on my left, one on my right, one on my left. Like, it's a very fun and scary experience. Exiting this hallway leads you into a seemingly empty room with the same type of walls of the previous room, with a huge rectangular portion of it on your right being brighter than the others. A video of bandaged Weeknd screaming suddenly fills that portion of the wall, and the background turns red, providing you with one final jump scare. You go through one final set of clear meat locker curtains to exit the parade building through a hallway with black curtains on your left and right, dancing out to the remix version of Blinding Lights heard in the previous rooms. Now, as a finale, as our last section of the house, do you think it delivered?
Absolutely. From going back to the opening scene, the mannequin scares are always pretty effective and usually a great finale. And the video, while not the best thing in the world, super unique way to end a house and get a final scare.
That was like the first time I think I've seen like a pure video scare like that, because I don't think a lot of people were expecting it. That one I saw like a lot of people like get caught off guard.
Oh
with
yeah,
it.
yeah, definitely.
And I think this completely wraps a bow on like what I think is the story of the house, or at least my interpretation. Because at first it started with him looking back, right? Like, you know, I'll die for you. I'll do anything for you. Looking back at all of his mistakes, his pain, his trauma, what happens after the breakup, what he does, what he gives into his temptations, him wanting to end his life because of all of his pain he's experiencing. And then now that the nightmare is over, he's gotten up, as the song suggests. I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. He's going back to somebody, either the person that hurt him before, he hurt before, or someone else that he thinks can fill this hole in his heart. I assume, interpret the multiple weekends suggests the real nightmare is that he's going to keep doing this. He's going to keep trying to, to either get back with this person or try to find people to fill this hole in his heart. And he's going to keep dealing with the same situation over and over and over again. He's going to hurt someone, or they're going to hurt him, and it's just going to keep happening. And he can try to put bandages over it. He can try to say, like, I'll do this and this and this and this to make myself, like, to fix it. But in the end, on the inside, he's always going to be broken, destroyed, like disfigured, like the bandage weekends are. In the end, you have that final scream of just like, this is the nightmare I'm in forever. And just like a final, like, burst of anger and frustration until you're finally let out. Like, that's how I always interpreted this ending here.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
This House Dissection was sponsored by a good fucking therapist. Find one. So you don't treat people like shit.
Yeah,
that's what the moral.
What's the big one right now? It's BetterHelp.com.
So now that we finished everything, we finished all the rooms. Do we want to give our final thoughts on the house?
I mean, there's not much I can add that way I haven't discussed throughout the season. That it is it was my second favorite of the season, and there was a lot of pretty solid houses. It's not exactly an all-timer, but it's going to be a house I will not forget, to say the least.
I'm sure. I mean, this is your favorite artist, so like I can imagine how like important this house was for you.
Yeah, it's and I had so many concerns about how they'd execute it and how easy it could be to just get wrong, and I thought they nailed it, absolutely nailed it. So it'll always be very special to me, as well as just a really good house. Like, not a top 10 for me, but like maybe top 20, top 25, something like that. So,
ooh, that's really good. And how about you, Mike?
I think I've been on the record that this one just kind of felt, I think it was a mid-tier for me. I really wanted, going in, it was going to be one of my favorites. It just didn't all click for me for whatever reason. I would say it's mid-tier for me. I would say like 6-ish, I think is where it fell.
I am curious, has this House Dissection, like, doesn't have to impact your opinion on your opinions on the house, but like gotten you to think about the house a little bit differently?
Yeah, I would say it definitely has helped me as someone who didn't get to experience this house a ton of times. Definitely got, there are a few things I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. Or, oh yeah, I experienced that scare once. I was supposed to experience it every time. But okay, like, and if I had experienced it every time, maybe it would be a little bit higher. Yeah, I for sure.
Awesome, awesome. And how about you, Jess?
So, all jokes and the bit aside, I've said that this house scratched an itch that no house has scratched before in my little HHN brain, and I stand by that. I think that music houses, this has proven that they can be really interesting, and they don't need to be the typical rock or metal genre. So it kind of opens up this new, I guess, can of worms that anything can be a house. I feel like. So I'm glad that this was the first, and I do need a little break, but maybe I'm more into the Weeknd than I was before. I'll say that. But yeah, I'm glad that we got it. I think ours was better than Hollywood. I'm glad I got to see both. But yeah.
No, absolutely. And ending with my final thoughts. This is, like I said before, this is my favorite house of all time currently. That usually changes every year, so we'll see what happens.
Not usually, it does.
It does. It does. It has changed every year so far, so it probably will. But as of right now, it's my favorite house of all time. And I mean, it's not just because of the scares, but I did think the scares were really impactful, and I got scared a lot. It's not just because of the sets or the lighting or the music or the sound. I think it's just the whole package. It all worked to tell these themes in a house that I've never seen before. The themes of heartbreak, the themes of giving into temptations, the themes of human, like human error. I feel like a lot of houses I've been in and I've enjoyed are just, like spookiness, scariness, like ghosts, goblins, ghouls, and it's in a awful sci-fi situation, type thing. This one was everything that happened, even if it was very, very, very exaggerated in every way, shape, or form, all are based on real feelings that someone dealt with, real problems that any of us could have, not in the lengths that probably the Weeknd goes to have these things, but all of us can fall into temptations. All of us can have a bad relationship. All of us can like fuck up things. Like it's just what happens. So I feel like a house tackling that type of stuff was really deep and interesting, and it was something that I never thought Horror Nights would tackle, and I'm really glad that they did, because it was beautiful. Like it was all houses are a work of art. But this one was a work of art. Like I loved it.
You know what else was a work of art? This House Dissection. Very well done, Jonathan. I'm a standing ovation.
Yay!
I'm not actually standing, but that was great.
I get a clap. Yay.
In both boo holes. Look at that. You're never going to live that one down.
I guess.
And then you got
no.
blinded by a white light right after?
God damn it.
This is what a 3-hour episode will do.
Right. Well, if you made it through this episode, let us know by using the hashtag.
Oh, both boo holes?
Both
hashtag
both boo holes. Yes. Hashtag both boo holes.
If anyone actually hashtags that, come find me at Spooky, show me your tweet, or tag me in it. Actually, don't tag me.
Or
just
walk up to us and say both boo holes.
Just walk. That's the code word for for a sticker.
Don't
now.
say that at Spooky Empire. That gets you to the Secret Six party. Don't say that.
That's what the pool party is. Oh God! All right, let's wrap this bitch up.
As always, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at HHN365, and at TikTok at HHN365pod. Find us on our Discord, and link is in the description, and our merch shop, HHN365.com. Leave us a voicemail at 407-906-4134. And we'll see you next week, and we'll see you in the streets, and we'll see you at Spooky.
And in both boo holes.